All right, check. Check. I should be live now. देव क्या हाल है? मुझे कल किसी ने डिस्कॉर्ड पे मैसेज करा था ये लेक्चर प्रोडक्शन ऑफ I'll read the message first क्योंकि I found it interesting and I think I'll watch it. So the message said, "Hey Nilesh, I have a suggestion. Let's watch the Howard University's Justice. What's the right thing to do?" It's an interactive discussion in which Michael Sandel presents various ethical dilemmas and asks what is the right thing to do. It is very entertaining and educational. Let's watch at least one episode and you can stop if you don't like it. It is available for free on YouTube. I think that sounds very interesting. I think so. So I guess I'll start watching this. All right. In case you guys are not interested, let me know what you are interested in. But I'm actually quite interested in this. पता तो लगे हम कितने हरामी हैं. And not हरामी. Okay, to be fair. बहुत ईजी होता कहना कि अच्छी चीज़ें करनी चाहिए, अच्छे काम करने चाहिए, be a good person, be a better person. But इट्स डिफ़िकल्ट टू रियल. संदीप ने न्यू वीडियो अपलोड कर दी, वो भी देख लूँगा भाई, वो भी देख लूँगा. बढ़िया भाई, तुम बढ़िया हो. वो भी देख लूँगा. संदीप महेश्वरी की नई वीडियो भी देख लूँगा. आई मीन इट्स वेरी इजी टू से कि अच्छा काम करना चाहिए, अच्छा इंसान बनो, अच्छे काम करो. बट द मॉरल साइड ऑफ मर्डर इज़ द टाइटल. वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग, वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग.
Program is provided by additional funding provided by
बाय द वे फंडिंग के चक्कर में एक फिल्म फेस्टिवल कैंसिल हो गया जिसमें मेरी शॉर्ट फिल्म चलनी थी. सो दैट्स नॉट गुड. मतलब फंडिंग की कमी के चक्कर में. क्या तुमने ये वीडियो क्लिक करने से पहले सोचा था तुम हार्वर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी या कुछ लेक्चर देख रहे हो और समथिंग लाइक दैट? इजंट यूट्यूब अमेजिंग गाइस? टॉपिक यूपीएससी कोचिंग रियलिटी. मैंने देख खोल रखी है भाई. सॉरी, ये तो मेरी अपनी स्ट्रीम है. नहीं, मेरे पास यूट्यूब पे टॉप पे ही आ रही थी. देयर इट इज. I'll watch it. I'm interested in this as well. But let's see.
This is a course about justice, and we begin with a story. Suppose you're the driver of a trolley car, and your trolley car is hurtling down the track at 60 miles an hour, and at the end of the track you notice 5 workers working on the track. You try to stop, but you can't. Your brakes don't work. You feel desperate because you know that if you crash into these 5 workers, they will all die. Let's assume you know that for sure. And so you feel helpless until you notice that there is, off to the right, a side track. And at the end of that track, there's one worker working on the track.
What's up, gentle Jeffrey? I'm watching the video you requested.
Your steering wheel works, so you can turn the trolley car if you want to.
Look at the people, they're so weirded out.
Onto the side track, killing the one, but sparing the 5. Here's our first question.
This is a very old dilemma, I think.
What's the right thing to do? What would you do? Let's take a poll. How many would turn the trolley car onto the side track? Raise your hands.
So, okay, there are 2 ways to think about this. ठीक है, पहला हो गया यूटिलिटेरियन वे. राइट, यूटिलिटेरियनिज्म बेसिकली सेज whichever is the greatest result of pleasure minus pain is the good thing to do, or it's the right thing to do. So if you think of it from a utilitarian perspective, of course you got to turn the car and kill the single person. There are other ways to think about it. I think Kant would say there's no good answer here. I think if you look at it from that perspective.
How many wouldn't? How many would go straight ahead? Keep your hands up, those of you who would go straight ahead. A handful of people would. The vast majority would turn. Let's hear first. Now we need to begin to investigate the reasons why you think it's the right thing to do. Let's begin with those in the majority who would turn to go onto the side track. Why would you do it? What would be your reason? Who's willing to volunteer a reason?
Utilitarianism, but I don't think most people would will there, depending on the people.
Go ahead, stand up.
Because it can't be right to kill 5 people when you can only kill 1 person instead.
It wouldn't be right to kill 5 if you could kill 1 person instead. That's a good reason. That's a good reason. Who else? Does everybody agree with that reason? Go ahead.
Well, I was thinking it's the same reason on 9/11. We regard the people who flew the plane into the Pennsylvania field as heroes because they chose to kill the people in the plane and not kill more people.
कोई अगर तुमसे पूछेगा कि तुमने रिलेटिव्स को इंस्टा पे ब्लॉक क्यों किया तो आंसर दे कि पोस्ट एंड स्टोरीज देखते हैं इंस्टा पे और कमेंट करके आते हैं. ये कैसा क्वेश्चन हुआ हर्ष मेरे भाई? व्हाट्सअप भविष्य, थैंक्स फॉर जॉइनिंग. अगर तुमसे कोई पूछे कोई अगर तुमसे पूछे कि तुमने रिलेटिव्स को इंस्टा पे ब्लॉक क्यों किया है तो आंसर दें कि पोस्ट एंड स्टोरीज देखते हैं इंस्टा पे और कमेंट घर आके. अच्छा ओके गाचा ओके ऑलराइट ठीक है समझ गया. लग गया 1 मिनट.
Big buildings.
So the principle there was the same on 9/11. It's a tragic circumstance, but better to kill one so that 5 can live. Is that the reason most of you had, those of you who would turn? Yes? Let's hear now from...
What would you guys do? Would you guys turn and kill a single person or just let the car go and let 5 people die? I think I will take the utilitarian perspective. Nah. I think so. That's the only thing that seems right. Otherwise, I can think, you have to make the decision like, okay, this was already happening. I just saw that I can kill one person instead, so why would I go and kill that one person? This was already happening and out of my control, So that's the only other thing I can imagine right now.
Those in the minority, those who wouldn't turn.
किस रील पे देखा था छाप दिया. मुझे ऐसा सुनने में ऐसा लग रहा था बीबी की वाइन्स का जोक है. अरे
Well, I think that's the same type of
भाई Harsh, hopefully you never go into Big Boss.
mentality that justifies genocide and totalitarianism. In order to save one type of race, you wipe out the other.
So what would you do in this case? You would, to avoid the horrors of genocide, you would crash into the 5 and kill them?
Presumably, yes.
You,
Yeah.
okay, who else? That's a brave answer. Thank you.
अरे बहुत प्यार आ रहा है किसी को चैट पे.
Let's consider another trolley car case and see.
Guys, I need to know what would you do अगर तुम्हारी गाड़ी चल रही है तुम्हारे सामने अचानक से 5 लोग आ जाते हैं और वो मर जाएंगे. You cannot brake. The only other option you have is गाड़ी को जल्दी से मोड़ना जिसमें एक बंदा मरेगा. What would you do? I want to know. 5 को मार के जो एक बचा है उसको भी उड़ा देंगे. Heavy driver हो. Vin Diesel.
Whether those of you in the majority want to adhere to the principle better that one should die so that 5 should live. This time you're not the driver of the trolley car, you're an onlooker. You're standing on a bridge overlooking a trolley car track. And down the track comes a trolley car. At the end of the track are 5 workers. The brakes don't work.
If those 5 people are our relatives, then you're bringing extra context through the scenario. Then of course you're going to kill one random dude. Of course, I think. And you're going to live with it. You're going to be like, I am an asshole and that's it is what it is. बिग बॉस कभी जाने का सवाल ही नहीं है. नहीं उठता. हर जगह कैमरा है. वीसी मेरे से नहीं रह जाएगा भाई. और वो दिल में स्पैम कर रहा हूँ. अच्छा भाई तू वॉशरूम चला जाएगा ना क्यों? Anyways, 5 बंदों को मारोगे एक को मारोगे.
Trolley car is about to careen into the 5 and kill them. And now you're not the driver. You really feel helpless until you notice standing next to you, leaning over the bridge, is a very fat man. And you could give him a shove. He would fall over the bridge, onto the track, right in the way of the trolley car. He would die, but he would spare the 5. Now,
all of a sudden, that's a very nice dilemma. What's up, Sidhu? Kya hai? That's a very nice dilemma. Hi bro, how are you? Love ने डेट चैनल पे वेब सीरीज डाल के गलत किया ब्रो. लोगों तक वीडियो गई ही नहीं. अरे जिन तक जानी थी चली गई यार. So here's the additional dilemma now. तो पहले क्या था कि तुम गाड़ी में हो, ठीक है, ट्रैक पे हो, whatever, सीधा 5 लोग मर जाएंगे अगर तुम जाते रहोगे तो. Only thing you can do is turn the car and kill one person instead. 5 की जगह 1. तो most people would go okay, all right, I'll kill 1 person because it's better than killing 5 people. Now all of a sudden you're on a bridge and you see कि ये गाड़ी 5 लोगों को मार देगी. And there is this guy मेरे साइड में जो बहुत मोटा है, अगर मैं इसको घेरता हूँ तो ये मर जाएगा और बाकी के 5 लोग बच जाएंगे. Now most people would not want to shove this guy, I would imagine. क्यों? क्योंकि अदरवाइज दे आर लिफ्टेड ऑफ द बर्डन कि अगर वो 5 लोगों को मार भी देता है ना तो मैंने उन 5 लोगों को नहीं मारा. अगर इसको मैं धक्का देता हूँ तो मैंने इसको मारा है. तो आई थिंक इट वुड गो इन दैट सेंस.
How many would push the fat man over the bridge? Raise your hand.
See? Not at all.
How many
Not a
wouldn't?
lot.
Most people wouldn't. Here's the obvious question. What became of the principle?
Because you want to justify your acts to yourself. Like I said, GTA Vice City wali feel.
To save 5 lives, even if it means sacrificing one. What became of the principle that almost everyone endorsed in the first case? I need to hear from someone who was in the majority in both cases. How do you explain the difference between the two? Yes.
The second one, I guess, involves an active choice of pushing the person down, which I guess
The first one also involved an active choice, turning the car to kill a single person.
that person himself would otherwise not have been involved in the situation at all, and so to choose
No, the same argument goes for the first
on
situation.
his behalf, I guess, to involve him in something that he otherwise would have escaped.
अरे वो अश्लील भैया जी वॉशरूम की बात करते संस्कारी और भोले बच्चे से कोई बात क्या कैसे लगता है तू हर्ष कोई बात रहती है लाइक गुस्सा निकल ही जाता है वहाँ सबका फुकरा का भी था एंड नथिंग प्राइवेट फैमिली की याद ओके खैर जो आप बोले थे वो भी बात तो है यार मेरी स्ट्रीम पे तुम लोग बहुत करते हो वो बात आगे मैं क्या बोलूँ मिड में नो फैप आगे बात हो जाती है कि नो फैप कैसे करें मुझे क्या पता कैसे करूँ
It is, I guess, more than what you have in the first case, where the three parties, the driver and the two sets of workers, are already, I guess, in the situation.
But the guy working, the one on the track, off to the side, he didn't choose to sacrifice his life any more than the fat man did he?
Exactly.
That's true, but he was on the tracks, and you
This guy was on
साले तो ट्रैक पे गए क्यों
the bridge. Go ahead, you can come back if you
शॉर्ट में लिखो हर्ष ब्रो
want. All right, it's a hard question.
हाँ भाई मैं अनपढ़ हूँ मेरी पढ़ने में फट जाती है
You did well. You did very well. It's a hard question. Who else can find a way of...
I think because there is a clear way you can keep yourself out of it. That's why you wouldn't want to push the fat man because how those 5 people are dying. I can save them, but at the same time, I didn't kill them. When you were the driver, no matter what you do, you are killing at least a person. I think that's a clear distinction.
reconciling the reaction of the majority in these two cases. Yes.
Well, I guess in the first case where you have the one worker and the 5, it's a choice between those two, and you have to make a certain choice, and people are going to die because of the trolley car, not necessarily because of your direct actions. The trolley car
Exactly.
is run away, thing, and you're making a split-second choice. Whereas pushing the fat man over is an actual act of murder on your part. You have control over that, whereas you may not have control over the trolley car. So I think it's a slightly different situation.
All right, who has...
Dude, I love this. I love this, by the way, guys. Guys, I don't know. Are you even watching this? Are you even watching this? तुम्हारे कमेंट पढ़ के तो नहीं लग रहा आपने अभी तक जान में कितनी बार फिर मुझे अश्लील कहते तुम हैं छोटे बच्चों से बातें नहीं करता मैं सब बड़े बच्चों से करता हूँ बट here's what I love, here's what I really like, guys.
Have control over that.
If you're watching this, if you are actually watching this, विवेक बिंद्रा की तरफ से कोई अपडेट नहीं आया बुरी तरह फंस गया हाँ भाई अब तो फंस गया हो
Whereas you may not have control over the trolley car. So I think it's a
Look at this guy. This guy is actually fucking listening. That's weird. क्योंकि see ये बंदा यहाँ पर आके लेक्चर दे रहा है right? He's actually fucking listening. He knows all these possible potential answers. He does. Trust me, he does. ठीक है if I can sit here, watch it for the first time and come up with that answer, he has heard this answer I don't know how many times, or read or written or whatever. But still, he's being patient. He's actually listening. That's really weird. यार बताओ तो सही भाई मैं गिनता नहीं.
slightly different situation.
All right, who has a reply? No, that's good. Who has a way? Who wants to reply? Is that a way out of this?
I don't think that's a very good reason because you choose to, it's either way you have to choose who dies because you either choose to turn and kill the person, which is an active conscious thought to turn, or you choose to push the fat man over, which is also an active conscious action. So either way you're making a choice.
Do you want to reply?
Well, I'm not really sure if that's the case. It just still seems kind of different, the act of actually pushing someone over onto the tracks and killing him. You are actually killing him yourself.
One is killing someone, the other one is letting someone die and call it, it is what it is. That's what life is. Sandeep versus Vivek काफ़ी ज़्यादा चल रहा है मैं तो बोर हो गया.
Pushing him with your own hands.
You're pushing it. And that's different than steering something that is going to cause death into another.
ये देख रहा है तू morality की बातें चल रही हैं so moral dilemmas.
You know, it doesn't really sound right saying it now.
No, it's good.
But I'm up here.
क्या I didn't get.
Cause death into another. You know,
With your own hands.
You're pushing it. And that's different than steering something that is going to cause death into another. You know, it doesn't really sound right saying it now.
No, it's good.
But I'm up here.
That's good. What's your name?
Andrew.
Andrew, let me ask you this question, Andrew.
Yes.
Suppose... standing on-
नितिन भाई where are you from? नितिन chat पे तो कोई नहीं है. I am Nilesh. If you mean me, I am from Faridabad.
bridge next to the fat man. I didn't have to push him. Suppose he were standing over a trap door that I could open by turning a steering wheel like that. Would you turn?
For some reason, that still just seems more wrong.
Right.
I mean, maybe if you accidentally like leaned into the steering wheel or something like that. But, or say that the car is hurtling towards a switch that will drop the trap.
Nitin कौन है इधर?
Then I could agree with that.
Fair enough. It still seems wrong in a way that it doesn't seem wrong in the first case to turn, you say.
And in another way, I mean, in the first situation, you're involved directly with the situation. In the second one, you're an onlooker as well.
All right.
So you have the choice of becoming involved or not by
All
pushing the
right,
fat man.
let's forget for the moment about this case. That's good. Let's imagine.
It's just I think the level of conscious burden of a murder is completely different. Where once you are watching, oh shit, ये मर सकते हैं, मैं बचा सकता हूँ इसको मार के. But when you kill that person, I think the level of क्या कहते हैं उसको, trauma, self-hatred or whatever, I think it will be much more. Just watching those 5 people die would be like watching in an accident. शारस भाई आपके कमेंट के चक्कर में नाम रहा.
Imagine a different case. This time you're a doctor in an emergency room, and 6 patients come to you. They've been in a terrible trolley car wreck. 5 of them sustain moderate injuries. 1 is severely injured. You could spend all day caring for the 1 severely injured victim, but in that time the 5 would die. Or you could look after the 5, restore them to health, but during that time the 1 severely injured person would die. How many would save the 5? Now is the doctor. How many would save the 1?
I completely fucking missed it. Sorry.
Patients come to you. They've been in a terrible trolley car wreck. 5 of them sustain moderate injuries. 1 is severely injured. You could spend all day caring for the 1 severely injured victim, but in that time the 5 would die. Or you could look after the 5, restore them to health, but during that time the 1 severely injured person would die. How many would save the 5? Now is the doctor. How many would save the 1? Very few people. Just a handful of people. Same reason, I assume. 1 life versus 5? Now consider.
Because once again, you're directly involved in saving or, and changing the courses of life and death.
Another doctor case. This time you're a transplant surgeon. And you
Hello, what's up, Gaurav Tiwari?
have 5 patients each in desperate need of an organ transplant in order to survive. 1 needs a heart, 1 a lung, 1 a kidney, 1 a liver, and the 5th, a pancreas. And you have no organ donors. You are about to see them die. And then it occurs to you that in the next room, there's a healthy guy who came in for a checkup. And he's...
All right, Gaurav, I don't think you'll be following this at all. एक बार और मैं अरे हर्ष नीलेश भाई आपके वीडियोस के थंबनेल देखे तो ऐसा लगता है कोई प्रोफेशनल एंड बहुत फेमस यूट्यूबर हो. संदीप सर का वीडियो चालू करना बाद में, देखना कितने लोग आ जाएंगे. बोरिंग है पर पीपल गोना जंप हेयर. नहीं, अभी इट्स नॉट अ वायरल शिट ना, तो ज़्यादा लोग नहीं हैं. बट आई वॉच द यूपीएससी वीडियो की. अभी मैंने 12th फेल भी देखी है. आई वॉच दिस वन. बट हाँ, people like controversies. अच्छा, ये संदीप भाई कुछ controversy, is it about some controversy now? Truth is harsh and bitter but needs to be said. Glad that such topics are being discussed. Also hope the society evolves from judging people by status and power and actual persona and ethics of a person. Now here again, ethics of a person to actual persona and ethics of a person. Marshall, आराम से बैठ. बैठ नीचे बैठ. चल. Okay. It's very difficult to define ethics. It's very difficult. And that's the whole lecture that we're watching right now.
You like that? And he's taking a nap. You could go in very quietly, yank out the 5 organs, that person would die.
So, by the way, Gaurav, if you're still watching and you didn't get anything before, तो basically अगर तू डॉक्टर है और तेरे पास 6 लोग आते हैं, 5 लोग की इंजरीज बहुत माइनर है और एक बंदे की इंजरी बहुत सीरियस है. ब्रो थोड़ा डिस्क्राइब करते रहो. हाँ. तो अभी हम लोग कहाँ पर हैं? अभी हम लोग यहाँ पर हैं. भाई आप नया वीडियो कब डालोगे एंड टॉपिक क्या होगा? मैं नई वीडियो भी डालने वाला हूँ, इस महीने तक शायद डाल दूंगा होपफुली. टॉपिक कुछ खास नहीं है मेरे पास उस वीडियो के लिए, मतलब टॉपिक आई कैन नॉट रियली एक्सप्लेन. अच्छा, सो हियर्स वेयर वी आर. तुम एक डॉक्टर हो, तुम्हारे पास 6 पेशेंट्स आते हैं. ओके, 5 पेशेंट हैं जिनको माइनर इंजरीज है. ठीक है, एक पेशेंट है जो बहुत गंदी तरीके से इंजर्ड है, मरने वाला है कतई. लेकिन जब तक तुम उस एक बंदे को ठीक कर रहे होगे, वो 5 लोग वैसे भी मर जाएंगे, इवन तो माइनर इंजरीज थी. तो क्या तुम उन 5 पे ध्यान दोगे जिन पे दे सकते हो और एक को मरने दोगे, या फिर तुम उस एक पे ध्यान दोगे और 5 को मरने दोगे? तुम आई एम सो सॉरी बड़ी. तो मोस्ट पीपल वुड से कि मैं 5 पे ध्यान दूंगा और एक को मरने दूंगा, क्योंकि वही ना, 5 लोग मर रहे हैं ज़्यादा बुरा है वर्सेस एक बंदा मर रहा है. नाउ इफ़ यू चेंज दैट, क्यों अब नाउ वी थिंक दैट्स अ फेयर इनफ मॉरल लॉजिक विच इज यूटिलिटेरियनिज्म और समथिंग लाइक दैट. जॉनसन्स वाला डॉक्टर कौन कह रहा था? तो ये कह रहा था ना, निदेव कह रहा था. अच्छा वो डिस्क्राइब करते रहो. अब नाउ कंसिडर दिस सिचुएशन. तुम अभी भी डॉक्टर हो, 6 लोग आते हैं फिर से, ठीक है. 5 लोग आए, एक एक बंदे को एक एक ऑर्गन चाहिए और सारे मर रहे हैं. किसी को कुछ चाहिए, किसी को कोई ऑर्गन चाहिए, किसी को कुछ ऑर्गन चाहिए. 5 लोगों को, सारे मर रहे हैं. अब एक बंदा आता है जो कि पूरा फिट है, नॉर्मल चेकअप के लिए आया था और वो सो रहा है. वुड यू डू द सेम थिंग? वुड यू लेट दैट 1% डाई जो कि बड़ा नॉर्मल था, उसमें से ऑर्गन्स निकाल के उन 5 को देकर उनकी ज़िंदगी बचाना? कि अगर तुम्हारी मॉरलिटी की डेफिनेशन वो है कि भाई 5 लोग बचने चाहिए, एक बंदा मर जाए तो क्या हुआ? तो डज दैट सीम फेयर टू यू? एंड टू मोस्ट पीपल इट वुडंट सीम फेयर. वंस अगेन बिकॉज यहाँ तुम जाके अपनी तरफ से एक इंसान को मारने का डिसीजन बना रहे हो. जो बाकी का जो पहला वाला सिचुएशन था, यू आर मेकिंग द डिसीजन ऑफ लेटिंग देम डाई. इन दिस वन यू आर मेकिंग द डिसीजन ऑफ किलिंग समवन, लेजिट किलिंग समवन. तो आई थिंक सो फार आई थिंक द मेन पॉइंट इज बेसिकली यूटिलिटेरियनिज्म क्या होता है. आई हैव दिस नोट पहले किसी उसमें से, आई कैन प्रोबेबली रीड इट. हाँ, whatever produces the greatest result of pleasure minus pain must be the moral thing to do, says utilitarianism, right? अभी मेरा कोई पुराना notes है. This makes utilitarianism a part of the consequentialist view of the world. मतलब जो consequence है उस चीज़ का, एक्शन का, वो बताता है कि एक्शन सही था या गलत था, नॉट द एक्शन इन इटसेल्फ. फॉर एग्जांपल जेफरी बेंटमैन, द फाउंडर ऑफ मॉडर्न यूटिलिटेरियनिज्म, ये कोई एग्जांपल होगा. इफ टू पीपल adults indulge in gay sex according to the principles of utility, there is no reason for them to be punished by death, जैसा कि 1700s में होता था. क्योंकि वही है ना कि इट्स नॉट अफेक्टिंग एनी वन, जो हम आज के डेट में कहते हैं. तो दैट्स अ यूटिलिटेरियन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, परस्पेक्टिव. मेक सेंस? बट नाउ व्हेन यू सी, इसको जब हम फ्लिप करते हैं, जब हम देखते हैं कि एक बंदे के ऑर्गन्स निकालने पड़ेंगे 5 को बचाने के लिए, जो बंदा नॉर्मल था, यूटिलिटेरियनिज्म डजंट वर्क आउट. उसमें देन मे बी हमारे पास, आई डोंट नो, आई हैव दिस ऑन मेरे पास दूसरा तो शायद ये कांट की थ्योरी है, विच इज़ बेसिकली कि तो किस, आई विल जस्ट रीड इट. कांट थ्योरी इज बेस्ड ऑन मैक्सिम्स, ब्रैकेट में इंटेंशंस. इफ एवरीवन इन्वॉल्वड इज प्लानिंग फॉर समथिंग विद द नॉलेज ऑफ द मैक्सिम्स of the maxims consent to it, it is morally permissible. If not, then no good. So even if A makes a promise to B, तो basically अगर कोई मैं और तुम किसी चीज़ में इन्वॉल्व हैं, ठीक है, जो कि चीज़ मेरे डॉग को भी इफेक्ट करती है, मेरे डॉग को नहीं, दैट्स अ स्टूपिड एग्जांपल, फक यू. मैं और तुम किसी चीज़ में इन्वॉल्व हैं जो किसी थर्ड पर्सन को वो इम्पैक्ट करती है. व्हाई डोंट यू मेक एन एडिटिंग कोर्स? आई एम नेवर गोना सेल एनीथिंग टू यू गाइस, कम ऑन. आई कैन मेक अ फ्री कोर्स, आई विल मेक अ फ्री कोर्स वन डे. तो मैं और तुम एक चीज़ में इन्वॉल्व हैं, ठीक है, और वो चीज़ तीसरे बंदे को इफेक्ट करती है. हम तीनों को वो चीज़ें पता है और उसकी सारी इंप्लीकेशन पता है. उसके बाद हम तीनों कहना कि हाँ ये करते हैं, देन इट्स ओके, देन इट्स मॉरली परमिसेबल. लेकिन अगर मुझे और तुम्हें पता है लेकिन उस तीसरे बंदे को नहीं पता, देन इट्स नॉट, क्योंकि ही कैन नॉट कंसेंट टू इट, क्योंकि उसको आइडिया ही नहीं है. भाई बस 5 दिन और बचे हैं, राम मंदिर आ जाएगा, अच्छा राम जी आ जाएंगे अयोध्या. अच्छा okay. I barely want to comment on it because I really understand it from the spirituals, from the love perspective. The issue is the politics around it all. So I think you guys are up to the pace. You understand utilitarianism, thoda sa Kant ka basics and Kant ki theory ka. Can I ask a question? Sure. Guest. You can ask any question you want.
You can save the 5. How many would do it? Anyone? How many? Put your hands up if you would do it. Anyone in the balcony? You would? Be careful, don't lean over too much. What? How many wouldn't? All right, what do you say? Speak up in the balcony. You who would yank out the organs. Why?
I'd actually like to explore a slightly alternate possibility of just taking the one of the 5 who needs an organ who dies first, using therefore healthy organs to save the other 4.
Ooh, big brains, big pee brains. That's very clever, but at the same time that's very dumb, bro. We're testing morals here. We are not testing your IQ. Very nice, you have great IQ. I'm new here, but kind of live stream is this. That's a good question यार, that's a good question. यार मुझे ये रिक्वेस्ट आई थी डिस्कॉर्ड पे. यू कैन जॉइन द डिस्कॉर्ड, लिंक इज इन द डिस्क्रिप्शन. ये एक हार्वर्ड लेक्चर डिस्कशन है अबाउट मॉरलिटी. हम इसके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं कि कैसी सिचुएशन में कैसा कुछ करना चाहिए. और अभी व्हेन यू कमेंटेड तो मैं अपने कोई पुराने नोट्स में से निकाल के 2 चीज़ें बता रहा था, यूटिलिटेरियनिज्म के बारे में और कांट की थ्योरी के बारे में, मैक्सिम्स की, जिसके बेस पे अभी तक ये ज़्यादातर आंसर्स आ रहे हैं. तो अभी हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं मॉरलिटी. वी डिस्कस एनीथिंग वी वांट हियर. इफ़ यू वांट टू डिस्कस समथिंग वी कैन डिस्कस दैट एज वेल. आई वुड अप्रिशिएट इफ़ यू वांट टू टेल मी योर नेम. इफ़ यू डोंट दैट्स फाइन टू. भाई आप किसको वोट देते हो, बीजेपी या फिर बेस्ट स्टैंड अप कॉमेडियन राहुल? मैं वोट ही नहीं देता. नहीं, आई डोंट थिंक इट्स फेयर टू से माई पोलिटिकल बिलीव्स, क्योंकि अभी अगर मेरे कोई पोलिटिकल बिलीव्स है ना, वो खाली बिलीव्स हैं, दे आर नॉट वेरी मच बेस्ड इन फैक्चुअल रियलिटी. तो मतलब मैं आई हैवंट डन इनफ ऑफ द रिसर्च, तो आई एम नॉट कंफर्टेबल स्टेटिंग दैट थिंकिंग, यू नो, of the consequences.
Great idea, except for the fact that you just wrecked the philosophical point.
Exactly, my dude.
Let's step back from these stories.
So right now we're discussing philosophy. Guest.
And these arguments to notice a couple of things about the way the
मुझे ना बड़ा I think मुझे hit कर गया question. What kind of stream is it? We do whatever we want, man. We play games. We discuss relationships. We discuss FAP. I guess. Can I ask a sexual question? What did I fucking say? That's what it always gets down to.
arguments have begun to unfold.
I hope your question is not about fapping. If it is, it's fine. Let me know. Go on.
Certain
Becky, you can just ask questions, man. It's fine.
moral principles have already begun to emerge from the discussions we've had. And let's consider what those moral principles look like. The first moral principle that emerged in the discussion said the right thing to do, the moral thing to do, depends on the consequences that will result.
What do you think of fetishism? I understand what fetishes are. I don't know the fetishism thing. Let me just look it up. Form of sexual behavior in which gratification is strongly linked to particular object or activity or the part of the body other than sexual organs. Okay, I would need an example then. Worship of an inanimate object for its supposed magical powers, or because okay, there are two things now. Let me read again. A form of sexual behavior in which the gratification is strongly linked to a particular object or activity or a part of the body other than the sexual organ. Okay. So if you get turned on with the other things rather than, the general sexual organs, that's fine, man. Dude, that's fine. As long as you're doing it and everyone involved is consenting to it and you like it, it's fucking fine, bro. Don't ever let anyone tell you anything about what you like. What do you think of Ranveer Alavadia? I really like Ranveer Alavadia. I think he's very entertaining. अब वो कितना intentionally entertaining है, कितना unintentional है, वो मुझे नहीं पता. But entertaining बहुत है वो. बाकी fetishism, it's fine. You do what you like, man. Once again, as long as everyone involved is consenting to it and are adults.
At the end of the day, better that five should live, even if one must die.
I don't think there's any reason we should consider the Yeti being around in these days. मैंने ऐसा सुना है कि हाँ there is some evidence के पहले हुआ करते थे interviews on Karan Johar. Oh fuck, thank you Harsh मेरे भाई. I found a reel कुछ time पहले. I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to show it to you in a while, in a second. But you guys are really not interested in morality, are you? Holy shit. But I'll get to Karan Johar. Karan Johar and Kajol. It's a reel of both of them.
That's an example of consequentialist moral reasoning. Consequentialist moral reasoning locates morality in the consequences of an act, in the state of the world that will result from the thing.
Like, sorry bro, I ruined your watching. No, I genuinely thought this would work. Dude, it's totally fine, man. It's totally fine. I'm enjoying it. For example, I have love with fetishes, shoes. यार मेरा ना आधा comment कट जाता है. Feet and shoes. Dude, that's fine. Not interested in morality. Dude, it's totally fine. If you love feet, if you love shoes, that's totally fine. What's wrong with that? Bestiality would not be fine if you like to fuck animals, because animals cannot consent to it. Yeah, it's totally fine. As long as you're doing whatever you're doing with consenting adults, that's totally fine.
Thing you do.
Okay. मैं ना बार-बार ये चीज़ इसलिए कह रहा हूँ because I understand it can be very hard to talk about this stuff. I understand why someone would be embarrassed about this stuff. You don't have to be at all. Not at all.
then we went a little further, we considered those other cases, and people weren't so sure about consequentialist moral reasoning. When people hesitated to push the fat man over the bridge, or to yank out the organs of the innocent patient, people gestured toward reasons having to do with the intrinsic quality of the act itself. Consequences be what they may. People were reluctant. People thought it was just...
What's up with your neck? अनिरुद्ध, क्या तू ये जिसने कुछ स्ट्रीम्स पहले मुझे आके ये बोला था कि सर्वाइकल इनकमिंग? You were right, my brother. ब्रो टॉपिक वाइज ही रखिए ना, कमेंट बाद में या पहले देख सकते हैं इंटरेस्टेड फॉर दिस टॉपिक. यार देव, आई एम रियली ग्लैड दैट यू आर इंटरेस्टेड इन दिस टॉपिक, बट यार तुम लोग कमेंट कर रहे हो यार. आई फील वेरी रॉन्ग इफ आई एम नॉट रीडिंग द कमेंट्स.
Wrong, categorically wrong. To kill a
I hope you are able to follow this though. If you're interested in this, I hope you're able to follow this, because this is how sort of my brain works, because I can be here, all of a sudden, and be back here. If someone has an issue with that, let me know.
an innocent person, even for the sake of saving 5 lives. At least people thought that in the second version of each story we considered. So this points to a second categorical way of thinking about moral reasoning. Categorical moral reasoning locates morality in certain absolute moral requirements, certain categorical duties and rights, regardless of the consequences. We're going to explore in the days and weeks to come the contrast between consequentialist and categorical moral principles. The most influential example of consequential moral reasoning is utilitarianism, a doctrine invented by...
That's why it is easier for me to get a grasp of it so far, because, as I was already telling you guys, I'm aware of the idea of utilitarianism and, the other category. So if it's getting too complicated, please let me know. Just put in a comment and jitna meri auqat mein hoga, I'll let you know.
Bentham, the 18th century English political philosopher. The most important philosopher of categorical moral reasoning is the 18th century German philosopher Immanuel Kant. So,
like you were talking about Kant and maxims.
We will look at those two different modes of moral reasoning, assess them, and also consider others. If you look at the syllabus, you'll notice that we read a number of great and famous books. Books by Aristotle, John Locke, Immanuel Kant, John Stuart Mill, and others. You'll notice, too, from the syllabus that we don't only read these books. We also take up contemporary political and legal controversies that raise philosophical questions. We will debate equality and inequality, affirmative action, free speech versus hate speech, same-sex marriage, military conscription, a range of practical questions. Why? Not just to enliven these abstract and distant books, but to make clear, to bring out what's at stake in our everyday lives, including our political lives, for philosophy. And so we will read these books, and we will debate these issues, and we'll see how each informs and illuminates the other. This may sound appealing enough, but here I have to issue a warning. And the warning is this: to read these books in this way, as an exercise in self-knowledge, to read them in this way carries certain risks. Risks that are both personal and political. Risks that every student of political philosophy has known. These risks spring from the fact that philosophy teaches us and unsettles us by confronting us with what we already know. There's an irony. The difficulty of this course consists in the fact that it teaches what you already know. It works by taking what we know from familiar, unquestioned settings and making it strange. That's how those examples worked.
All right. Sorry, Dev, but I get it. I have a fetish, like if I see someone wearing formal suit and formal dress, shoes, especially black color, would mostly try to look at them. But for it, a person should be handsome and intellectual. All right. Looking at them, is that the only thing you like with feet? Again, guys, ho sakta hai, someone might be thinking, why am I asking too many detailed questions about what you're into when it comes to feet? Here's what I'm assuming. Guest. You don't get to talk about it, and you feel the need to talk about it. And so yeah, that's why I'm asking the questions. And while you feel the need to talk about it, you also feel the need for a space where you can actually talk about it anonymously. So that's why. You are a unique guest. Harsh, saade, parechan kar raha.
Hypotheticals with which we began, with their mix of playfulness and sobriety. It's also how these philosophical...
And there's nothing wrong with being unique. That's the whole point.
...books work. Philosophy estranges us from the familiar, not by supplying new information, but by inviting and provoking a new way of seeing. But, and here's the risk.
Guessed your name. Harsh, you seem very interested in this fetishism lifestyle.
Once the familiar turns strange, it's never quite the same again. Self-knowledge is like lost innocence. However unsettling you find it, it can never be unthought or unknown. What makes this enterprise difficult, but also riveting, is that moral and political philosophy is a story, and you don't know where the story will lead, but what you do know is that the story is about you. Those are the personal risks. Now what of the political risks?
I love this guy, man. This तरीके से बोल रहा है, the way he's talking, you know, I don't know. I'm really liking his facial expressions for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm watching it at faster speed. कितनी speed पे? At 2x speed. So I don't know. Of course, that has nothing to do with it. But I'm really liking his expressions. It seems like he's really into the talk. I love that.
One way of introducing a course like this would be to promise you that by reading these books and debating these issues, you will become a better, more responsible citizen.
You can see how seriously he takes this whole thing.
You will examine the presuppositions of public policy.
Not interested in the topic, interested to know the person names because it's so weird calling someone by guest. I know, but the whole point is anonymity. So unless, you know, he or she feels safe in this environment, I would actually suggest not to reveal your name. Not to say that I don't trust any of you guys, not to say that I don't trust my chat, but I think if practicing good caution is usually a good idea.
You will hone your political judgment. You will become a more effective participant in public affairs. But this would be a partial and misleading promise. Political philosophy, for the most part, hasn't worked that way. You have to allow for the possibility that political philosophy may make you a worse citizen rather than a better one, or at least a worse citizen before it makes you a better one. And that's because philosophy is a distancing, even debilitating activity. And you see this going back to Socrates. There's a dialogue with Gorgias in which one of Socrates' friends, Callicles, tries to talk him out of philosophizing. Callicles tells Socrates, philosophy is a pretty toy if one indulges in it with moderation at the right time of life. But if one pursues it further than one should, it is absolute ruin. Take my advice, Callicles says. Abandon argument. Learn the accomplishments of active life. Take for your models not those people
BBB. CCC.
who spend their time on these petty quibbles, but those who have a good livelihood and reputation and many other blessings. So Callicles is really saying to Socrates, quit philosophizing, get real, go to business school. And Callicles did have a point. He had a point because philosophy distances us from conventions, from established assumptions.
अरे आपको इतने फेमस थोड़ी हो कि एनोनिमिटी ना रहे, खुद को फेमस तो करो. रचित्रो कौन है मुझे नहीं पता. लाइव स्ट्रीम करो. रचित्रो कौन है? I'll have to watch. Yeah, it's not about famous. I'm just trying to make a space which is again comfortable enough for guest to talk about it. I like to kiss, clean, and polish, shine the shoes of the person who is successful in his life, or he must be handsome. But this is rare with me to see it. All right.
And from settled beliefs. Those are the risks, personal and political. And in the face of these risks, there is a
Before YouTube, people of all ages used to drive for hours to attend these lectures, even when they were not a student for this course. The hall would be always full, so they had installed speaker outside. Wow. YouTube people all ages to drive for hours to attend his lectures. Yes, okay, all right, man. I have no idea who this person is. I'm really liking this person, though. I'm really liking this person. When I see my opportunity, my heartbeats increase, and I'm unable to talk with that person. I can imagine. रचित फेमस है भाई, सर्च करो ज़रा. रचित्रो अच्छा यूट्यूबर है. आई समटाइम्स ड्रिंक अ ग्लास ऑफ वाटर टू रिलैक्स माई हार्ट रेट्स. प्रोडक्ट कोड. मैं अभी आया हूँ. क्या चल रहा है स्ट्रीम में? स्ट्रीम में चल रही है जस्टिस, व्हाट इज़ द राइट थिंग टू डू, एपिसोड 1, द मॉरल साइड ऑफ मर्डर. इसका मेन क्वेश्चन ये है कि अगर तुम गाड़ी में जा रहे हो, ठीक है, तुम्हारे सामने गाड़ी में नहीं है, आई एम जस्ट डिस्क्राइबिंग इट सिंपली, तुम्हारे सामने 5 लोग हैं, यू रियलाइज फक देयर इज नथिंग आई कैन डू, ये 5 लोग मरेंगे. ऑल ऑफ अ सडन यू सी, ओ शिट, मैं यहाँ मोड़ सकता हूँ, लेकिन वहाँ पर एक बंदा मरेगा. तो व्हाट वुड यू डू? क्या तुम मोड़ोगे, क्या तुम 5 को उड़ा दोगे? ज़्यादातर लोग कहते हैं कि हम 5 को उड़ा देंगे, सॉरी हम मोड़ लेंगे, 1 को उड़ा देंगे, क्योंकि 5 को उड़ाने से बेटर है 1 को उड़ाना. अगर हम सेम तरीके से देखें तो देखें अब, लेकिन हम गाड़ी नहीं चला रहे, हम ऊपर पुल पे खड़े हैं और नीचे देख रहे हैं, हम गाड़ी जा रही है, फक ये तो 5 लोग मरने वाले हैं, और हमारे साइड में एक मोटा सा आदमी खड़ा है जिसको हम धक्का देंगे तो वो 5 लोग बच जाएंगे, लेकिन ये एक मोटा मर जाएगा. तो हमारा जो पहले लॉजिक था वो ये था कि 5 लोग मरने से बेटर है कि 1 बंदा मर जाए. लेकिन अब हम उस एक बंदे को धक्का देने के लिए राजी नहीं है. क्यों? बिकॉज द ब्लेम सॉर्ट ऑफ कम्स ऑन अस मोर सो देन इट वुड हैव द अदर वे. सो इट वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट द डिलेमा, इट वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट कांट्स थ्योरी ऑफ मैक्सिम्स, या फिर तुम्हारा इंटेंशंस, और इट वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट द फिलोसफी ऑफ क्या होता है, कॉन्सिक्वेंशियलिज्म, बेसिकली यूटिलिटेरियनिज्म, यानी कि कोई चीज़ अच्छी या बुरी उसके कॉन्सिक्वेंस से डिटरमाइन होती है. आई हैव अ क्वेश्चन, आर यू डूइंग दिस स्ट्रीम जस्ट फॉर द सेक ऑफ पीपल वॉचिंग नाउ, और विल पीपल कम लेटर एंड वॉच दिस स्ट्रीम एंड लर्न? आई डोंट नो मैन, आई डोंट नो. आई एम नॉट इवन थिंकिंग दैट फार. I don't know. I'm glad that you are enjoying the content. you are not, maybe not the content. I know you are finding it somewhat distractful. मैं तो रास्ते से जा रहा हूँ, बेलबुड़ी खा रहा था, रास्ते से जा रहा था, बेलबुड़ी खा रहा था, लोगों को उड़ा रहा था और नाम अपने ड्राइवर पे डाल रहा था. Okay. Harsh, you better hope you never go to Big Boss. तो हाँ यार, देव इतना आगे तक का मैं सोच भी नहीं रहा. I'm just finding this interesting though.
Characteristic evasion. The name of the evasion is skepticism. It's the idea, well, it goes something like this. We didn't resolve once and for all either the cases or the principles we were arguing when we began. And if Aristotle and Locke and Kant and Mill haven't solved these questions after all of these years, who are we to think that we here in Sanders Theatre over the course of a semester can resolve them? And so maybe it's just a matter of each person having his or her own principles and there's nothing more to be said about it. No way of reasoning. That's the evasion of skepticism, to which I would offer the following reply. It's true, these questions have been debated for a very long time. But the very fact that they have recurred and persisted may suggest that though they're impossible in one sense, they're unavoidable in another. And the reason they're unavoidable, the reason they're inescapable, is that we live some answer to these questions every day.
By the way, guest, are you a male and gay? Are you married? No, I'm not married, bro. Or you know, if you're a girl, sorry for calling you bro. मैं कंटेंट देखने नहीं, आपको देखने आया हूँ, आपसे बात करने आता हूँ. That's my bro. नहीं यार, I'm not married.
So skepticism, just throwing up your hands and giving up on moral reflection, is no solution. Immanuel Kant described very well the problem with skepticism when he wrote, "Skepticism is a resting place for human reason."
So by the way, skepticism, if someone missed it completely, I could be wrong, but skepticism goes like, like he was saying a while ago, either there is no good or bad, or we can never get to a moral good or bad objective. So, you know, fuck it. Just to make sure I'm not telling you guys skepticism, because I am not a scholar. Skeptical attitude, a doubt to truth or something. A theory of certain knowledge is impossible, exactly. The philosophy one. We are more interested to talk to you rather than watch his video. Query, I'm talking to you. I'm interested in watching this video as well, though.
It can reflect upon its dogmatic wanderings, but it is no way.
Don't worry, I'm talking to you. I'm here.
In place for permanent settlement. Simply.
But Dave is interested. But Dave, you gotta be more interactive.
Acquiesce in skepticism.
That's how I know people are interested. Because अगर देव ने मैसेज नहीं किया होता तब तक मैं शायद हटा चुका था. Thinking कि none of the chat wants to see this. Nilesh is married to Vivek Bindra. Helped him gaining some views.
Can never suffice to overcome the restlessness of reason. I've tried to suggest through these stories and these arguments some sense of the risks and temptations, of the perils and the possibilities. I would simply conclude by saying that the aim of this course is to awaken the restlessness of reason and to see where it might lead. Thank you very much.
Okay. So how I can see that's a interval at least. How many of you actually want to continue this? The other options are Sandeep Maheshwari, UPSC की हकीकत. But उससे पहले, meanwhile you guys are letting me know if you want to continue watching this or not. I have something to show you. I think so, I do. Hold on. This was so horrible. I saw this and it was so horrible. रास्ते से जा रहा बेलबुड़ी. There it is. तेरी बहस की आंख. Instagram app is not working good. Okay, share. I want to copy link. There you go. I want your opinion on Dr. Vivek Bindra. No, Nilesh is not married to me. Oh my God, Dr. Vivek Bindra is here. Okay, here's the question. Guest, are you Dr. Vivek Bindra? मतलब in this chat. I want to know. क्योंकि बहुत कम लोग होते हैं जो इतनी जल्दी अकाउंट बदल के आते हैं. So, alright guys, have a look at this. देखो नीलेश भाई, आपकी भाई विवेक का नाम लिया और वहाँ से. Alright guys, have a look at this.
You know what I've learned from life.
Sorry. Hold on, calm down guys, calm down.
Taught you in one sentence.
The question is, what has life taught you in one sentence? Yes, but just keep describing. Sure. So the question was, what has life taught you in one sentence? To Karan Johar, I think. Kajal साथ में बैठी है. Bindra जी भी like इसको मत मारो, सबको और उसको बेचो.
You know what I've learned from life.
ना 5 को मारो ना 1 को, लेकिन 6 लोगों को switch.
I know what life has taught you, Karan. The bigger, the better.
Size matters, I'm telling you.
Size matters, you bet.
I'll not be saying things like this, and nor will you.
And it's got nothing to do with a 12-inch ruler.
That's horrible. Why would you do that to your friend? That's actually horrible. Am I being too soft here? Wow, she looks so elegant and cool, even with the simple Punjabi dress. The charm of 19's heroine was... Dude, you missed the entire fucking point.
You can't put this on. Please.
He's clearly saying you can't put this on.
Does matter at the end of the day.
No, life is to teach you serious things, not all these things.
The bigger, the better.
Kajal, what has life taught you?
Every arena.
What has life taught you? Are you going to really put all this on air?
He's saying, are you really going to put all of this on air? And she goes, I might.
May? I may.
That's fucking horrible. Why would you do that to your friend? The origins of a villain. And you know, सारे जो लोग बोलते हैं, I'm sure तुम लोगों ने भी ये चीज़ सुनी होगी कि you know, internet has dehumanized people, and that's where you see this. Like most people will make jokes about it. I'm not offended by people making jokes about it. That's fine. I'm just pointing something out. But that's extremely. Why would you do that to your friend? I just don't get it. Extremely horrible. I mean, can you imagine him making a joke on someone else's sexuality? If they're, especially on a woman's sexuality, even if she's straight. I don't know. I just found it not disgusting. I wouldn't go that far, but horrible at least. I can never do that to a friend of mine. That's when he determined to become a movie mafia and silence everyone he dislikes, maybe. Okay, now you're actually making it a villain story, guys. But I don't know. I really felt it was weird. Okay, we're back here. Arpit Bala and his girlfriend story देखो. यार Arpit Bala और उसकी girlfriend की story. I don't know, man. That feels odd. That feels odd, yaar. Arpit. Is it some controversy? I don't want to watch किसी की इतनी personal life में. That's why I feel वो विवेक बिंद्रा वाला चीज़ कभी off. I don't know. It's an entire stream he has done. It's a stream highlights. I don't know what you mean by that. But let's get to what we were watching. I'll get to it. I hope it's not something too personal for him. It's leaked or something like that. मतलब leaked से मतलब एक ही leaked नहीं होता और भी चीज़ होती हैं, by the way.
Like, in a situation that desperate, you have to do what you have to do to survive.
You have to do what you have to do.
You got to do what you got to do, pretty much. If you've been going 19 days without any food, you know, someone just has to take the sacrifice and has to make sacrifice and people can survive.
All right, that's good. What's your name?
Marcus.
Marcus. What do you say to Marcus?
भाई सर यहाँ तो cannibalism की बात हो रही है. Australian cricketer Mitchell Marsh put his feet over the trophy. What do you think? I was aroused by his pick. It's their trophy. They can do whatever the fuck they want. I wasn't aroused, but it's fine. You were. Sandeep ji, भाई पक्का guest और डॉक्टर विवेक बिंद्रा एक ही. I'm telling you. स्पीकर संदीप जी नई 12th फेल देख के आए होंगे. उन्होंने सोचा अभी यूपीएससी को एक्सपोज कर दूं. I'll fix this. Yeah. तो बाय द वे गाइस, ऊपर चैट में तुमको जो दिख रहा है ना, दिल के जस्ट पहले ये आए होंगे वाली से स्पेस आ गया और नीचे लाइन में आ गया नेक्स्ट सेंटेंस, राइट? मेरे पास जो चैट आती है ना उसमें ऐसा नहीं होता, दिल के पीछे ही आ रही होती हैं चीज़ें, इसलिए मुझे समझ नहीं आती आधे टाइम.
We started out last time with some stories, with some moral dilemmas about trolley cars and about doctors and healthy patients, vulnerable.
अर्पित बाला की कोई भी वीडियो लगाओ, मज़ा आएगा. हाँ, we can watch it.
To being victims of organ transplantation. We noticed two things about the arguments we had. One had to do with the way we were arguing. We began with our judgments in particular cases.
अर्पित बाला I know he's a streamer. He's a really successful streamer. I know he's a musician. I'll also be interested in watching some short highlights, not longer, because यार stream पे दूसरे की stream देखना is almost like, what are you doing? मैं guest नहीं हूँ. मम्मी कसम मेरा only एक अकाउंट है, सिर्फ विवेक बिंद्रा. ये वाला. Okay. माफ़ी.
We try to articulate the reasons or the principles lying behind our judgments. And then, confronted with a new case, we found ourselves re-examining those principles, revising each in the light of the other. And we noticed the built-in pressure to try to bring into alignment our judgments about particular cases and the principles we would endorse.
Dev, are you good? Are you up to speed so far?
On reflection.
And you guys, I don't know, जितने लोग भी सुन रहे हैं ये lecture, are you guys up to speed? Is there anything that you guys are not are confused about? If you have been paying attention to the lecture, I know most of you are not.
We also noticed something about the substance of the arguments that emerged from the discussion. We noticed that sometimes we were tempted to locate the morality of an act in the consequences, in the results, in the state of the world that it brought about. And we call this consequentialist moral reasoning.
It was the thing that the trophy was there. There is the reason. It was the thing that trophy was there. There is a reason behind it. I think that Mitchell Marsh also have fetishism, like he wants to show his dominance by his feet. Maybe, but I think if you have a certain fantasy, and especially it's a secret, kept from the rest of the world, I think you are more likely to spot it everywhere. चाहे वो हो भी या ना हो सकता है हो भी. I'm not saying कि नहीं है, right? But I think if अगर तेरे पास एक अपना, if you have a secret of yours ना कि like, oh fuck, this is the thing about me, and so you are technically looking for validation, right? So wherever you see inclinations or hints for that, you're like, oh, this is that, right? This guy is like that as well. So it's okay. It is okay. It is okay. Regardless, in case you have that, I think that's I think we have that secret, or we have that secret fantasy, or any secret, we look for validation in that way. Exactly, you got it. I didn't want to say you are looking for validation. Okay, I know you get it. See, the thing is, I'll get to this later on, guys. If you really want to know a little more about my personal life, my personal relationships in life, remind me later on. I'll tell you how bad of miscommunication I've been doing lately. मतलब इतनी घटिया miscommunication कर रहा हूँ ना मैं आजकल. मैं बता भी नहीं सकता. बता सकता हूँ और बताऊँगा भैंस के.
But we also noticed that in some cases, we weren't swayed only by the result. Sometimes, many of us felt that not just consequences, but also the intrinsic quality or...
I hate when cameraman focuses on... भाई मेरे भाई डॉक्टर वेगबिंद्र, मुझे ना इतना दिमाग खराब हुआ था जब वो मैक्सवेल वाली चीज़ चल रही थी ना भाई. इसलिए क्रिकेट ना पूरी दुनिया में नहीं चलता इंडिया के अलावा. मैक्सवेल इधर उधर भाग रहा है भाई, उस बंदे से भागा नहीं जा रहा, उससे चला नहीं जा रहा, वो भाग के रन कंप्लीट कर रहा है, वो विकेट के एंड पे जाके गिर जाता है, उसकी बॉडी शेक कर रही है. नाउ आई डोंट इवन केयर अबाउट द मैच. एक्चुअली आई डू केयर अबाउट द मैच, बट मोर सो आई केयर अबाउट द गाय. ऑल ऑफ अ सडन इट्स फकिंग ब्यूटीफुल इंस्पायरिंग स्टोरी कि कैसे बंदा लगा पड़ा है भैंस की, बॉडी शिवर कर रही है गिर के. व्हाट डज द एडिटर्स डू? टेबल ले आते हैं. दे आर नॉट लेटिंग मी वॉच मैक्सवेल. ओनली थिंग आई केयर अबाउट इन द मैच, नहीं टेबल देखो ना, रैंकिंग्स ये चल रही हैं, ये चल रहा है. आई डोंट गिव अ शिट ब्रो. आई वांट टू सी व्हाट्स अप विद द गाय. व्हाट डू यू थिंक अबाउट एप्स्टीन्स आइलैंड? I don't think much, but I wonder कि स्टीवन हॉकिंस कर क्या रहा था वहाँ. बट आई रिमेंबर वो जो मूवी है ना, द थ्योरी ऑफ एवरीथिंग, उसमें वो उसको ले जा रहे होते हैं स्टीवन हॉकिंस को गोद में, उसके दोस्त कहते हैं डज दैट स्टिल वर्क, एंड ही गोज यप. सो आई डोंट नो.
Character of the act matters morally. Some people argue that there are certain things that are just categorically wrong, even if they bring about a good result, even if they save 5 people at the cost of 1 life. So we contrasted consequentialist moral principles with categorical ones. Today, and in the next few days, we will begin to examine one of the most influential versions of consequentialist moral theory, and that's the philosophy of utilitarianism. Jeremy Bentham, the 18th century English political philosopher, gave the first clear systematic expression to the utilitarian moral theory. And Bentham's idea, his essential idea, is a very simple one, with a lot of morally intuitive appeal. Bentham's idea is the following: the right thing to do, the just thing to do, is to maximize.
True. It's like कौन के बीच में you realize कि लड़की, it's like कौन के बीच में you realize कि लड़की बहस क्या कि तो मेरा ये दिल के चक्कर में जो कमेंट्स छपते हैं ना, Mitchell Marsh. मेरे माइंड में ना मिचेल पढ़ते स्टार्क आता. Marsh didn't put his feet in disrespect as a trophy is like ideal for Indians, but Marsh is getting satisfaction by doing such things. It is associated with his sexual fetish or kinks. Maybe it is.
Nice. Utility. What did he mean by utility? He meant by utility the balance of pleasure over pain, happiness over suffering. Here's how he arrived at the principle of maximizing utility. He started out by observing that all of us, all human beings, are governed by two sides.
Millions of people were unable to spot that fetish of Marsh. Why? Because millions of people, if they don't have that fetish, they don't think about it as much. And, no, sorry, not at all. Kyunki dekha, well, of course, if something doesn't affect you, you barely think about it, right? Plus, we don't even know necessarily if that was for his kink or not. We don't even know that.
Sovereign masters, pain and pleasure. We human beings.
I'd be wary of jumping to conclusions.
Like pleasure and dislike pain. And so we should base morality, whether we're thinking about what to do in our own lives, or whether, as legislators or citizens, we're thinking about what the law should be. The right thing to do individually or collectively is to maximize, act in a way that maximizes the overall level of happiness.
I don't know, maybe a lot of you guys are not listening to this because you think, what's the point? It's really important. अभी जैसे हम वोटिंग की बात कर रहे थे ना, it's really important. Because ये जो main दो theories हैं, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong if they know more. These are the two, maybe not the only two ways, but these are the two big ways to look at world and actions. So if you want to, judge a person, you can make real good judgment by the way when you realize कि वो utilitarianism में है, consequentialism में है, या फिर the maxims of Kant or whatever. And they don't have to know कि भाई I'm a utilitarian. They don't have to know that. They just act it out. It's very important. It's very important for politics. It's very important for your personal life as well. How to trust people. So I have a lot of people in my life who I trust a lot. लेकिन I trust people in different ways. मुझे पता है कि कौन सा इंसान को मैं किस तरीके से किस सिचुएशन में ज़्यादा ट्रस्ट कर सकता हूँ. इट्स नॉट कि मैं दूसरों को नहीं कर सकता. इट्स लाइक आई अंडरस्टैंड हिज पर्सनैलिटी, दैट पर्सन इनफ कि आई नो ही इज़ बेटर देन एवरीवन एल्स इन दिस सिचुएशन. सलमान भाई केसेस ऐश्वर्या in Vegas and I also have foot fetishes. Quentin Tarantino does with the Salma Hayek scene, right? But this question is, do you trust me, Nilesh Jetli? Of course I do, doctor.
Bentham's utilitarianism is sometimes summed up with the slogan, the greatest good for the greatest number. With this basic principle of utility on hand, let's begin to test it and to examine it.
So here's one common counterpoint to utilitarianism. I don't know. I think he might be going into this only. एक पुलिस वाला है, ठीक है, उसके सामने एक बंदा है. So there is a guy, right? And the question है, so पुलिस वाले को पता है इस बंदे ने कुछ गलत काम नहीं करा, लेकिन सारी दुनिया समझती है कि ये बंदा गिल्टी है, इसने गलत काम करा है. तो वो अगर इस बंदे को जिसने गलत काम नहीं करा उसको फांसी नहीं देता तो सारी दुनिया राइट्स करेगी और ये सारी चीज़ें करेंगी, राइट, जिससे और बहुत सारे लोग मरेंगे. तो यूटिलिटेरियनिज्म स्ट्रेट अवे कहता है कि इवन दो पुलिस वाले को पता है कि इसने कुछ गलत काम नहीं करा, उसको फिर भी फांसी दे देनी चाहिए. क्यों? क्योंकि पूरी दुनिया वरना नाश पिटेगी. सो दैट्स बट आर इंस्टिंक्ट सेज कि दैट्स नॉट गुड बिकॉज वी आर वेरी होपफुल क्रीचर्स. मैं उतना भी बड़ा डॉक्टर नहीं हूँ जितना बड़ा जॉनी सिंस है. भाई बिलीव इन योरसेल्फ, डॉक्टर साहब, बिलीव इन योरसेल्फ.
Story, a real life story, the case of the Queen versus Dudley and Stevens. This was a 19th century British law case that's famous and much debated in law schools. Here's what happened in the case. I'll summarize the story, then I want to hear how you would rule, imagining that you're the jury. A newspaper account of the time described the background. A sadder story of disaster at sea was never told than that of the survivors of the yacht Mignonette. The ship foundered in the South Atlantic, 1,300 miles from the Cape. There were 4 in the crew. Dudley was the captain. Stevens was the first mate. Brooks was a sailor. All men of excellent character, or so the newspaper account tells us. The 4th crew member was the cabin boy, Richard Parker, 17 years old. He was an orphan. He had no family. And he was on his first long voyage at sea. He went, the news account tells us, rather against the advice of his friends, he went in the hopefulness of youthful ambition, thinking the journey would make a man of him. Sadly, it was not to be. The facts of the case were not
बीकेएल यूट्यूब वाले मेरा कमेंट डिलीट कर रहे हैं, ऐसा कर रहे जा रहे हैं. ये बीकेएल बोल रहा है तो इसलिए कर रहे हैं.
Dispute. A wave hit the ship, and the Mignonette went down. The 4 crew members escaped to a lifeboat. The only food they had were 2 cans of preserved turnips, no fresh water. For the first 3 days, they ate nothing. On the fourth day, they opened one of the cans of turnips and ate it. The next day, they caught a turtle. Together with the other can of turnips, the turtle enabled them to subsist for the next few days, and then for 8 days, they had nothing. No food, no water. Imagine yourself in a situation like that. What would you do? Here's what they did. By now, the cabin boy, Parker, is lying at the bottom of the lifeboat in the corner because he had drunk seawater against the advice of the others, and he had become ill, and he appeared to be dying. So on the 19th day, Dudley, the captain, suggested that they should all have a lottery, that they should draw lots to see who would die to save the rest. Brooks refused. He didn't like the lottery idea. We don't know whether this was because he didn't want to take the chance or because he believed in categorical moral principles. But in any case, no lots were drawn. The next day, there was still no ship in sight, so Dudley told Brooks to avert his gaze, and he motioned to Stevens that the boy Parker had better be killed. Dudley offered a prayer, he told the boy his time had come, and he killed him with a penknife, stabbing him in the jugular vein. Brooks emerged from his conscientious objection to share in the gruesome bounty. For 4 days, the three of them fed on the body and blood of the cabin boy. True story. And then they were rescued. Dudley describes their rescue in his diary with staggering euphemism, quote, on the 24th day, as we were having our breakfast, a ship appeared at last. The three survivors were picked up by a German ship. They were taken back to Falmouth in England, where they were arrested and tried. Brooks turned state's witness. Dudley and Stevens went to trial. They didn't dispute the facts. They claimed they had acted out of necessity. That was their defense. They argued, in effect, better that one should die, so that 3 could survive. The prosecutor wasn't swayed by that argument. He said murder is murder, and so the case went to trial. Now imagine you are the jury. And just to simplify the discussion, put aside the question of law, and let's assume that you as the jury are charged with deciding whether what they did was morally permissible or not. How many would vote not guilty, that what they did was morally permissible? And how many would vote guilty, what they did was morally wrong? A pretty sizable majority. Now let's see what people's reasons are, and let me begin with those who are in the minority. Let's hear first from the defense of Dudley and Stevens. Why would you morally exonerate them?
What do you think? Dave, you're listening. What do you think? Guilty, not guilty?
What are your reasons? Yes.
I think it is morally reprehensible, but I think that there's this.
Maybe I'm missing the point, but how many times does someone encounter such scenarios where one should die and 3 should survive, and the types? For example, almost never, by the way, first of all. But our whole society are based on some of these principles. और ये जो principles हैं, हमारी पूरी society इन principles को ऐसे follow करते हैं जिस तरीके से हम politicians को choose करते हैं, right? Now politicians do not need to know these concepts, but they follow certain concepts, right? Categorical thinking, या फिर consequentialist thinking. And the main thing is, does the ends actually justify the means or not? Or maybe the means is the more important thing. It's Discord पे नहीं देख ली मैंने, हर वैसे उस पे देख ली मैंने. Read my above comment. Doing masturbation after jealousy from someone is common or not? I don't know. भाई आपको एक वीडियो भेजी है, भाई मैंने वो वीडियो देख लिया, अभी मैं चलाऊँगा. 3 should survive types. We don't, but इनके जो different metaphorical versions हैं वो हमारी पूरी वर्ल्ड में चलते हैं यार. I think वही whether the ends justify the means or not. And मैं बार बार ये कह रहा हूँ कि political leaders और ये सारी चीज़ें, how do you judge your own morality? That's always a moral question to you as well, कि जो भी तुम कर रहे हो whether the end justifies the means or not. ठीक है, let's say okay तुम्हारी बंदी है, right? Something happened. You cheated on her. Accidentally नहीं होता ना, you just cheated on her, right? Morally bad, but I would not charge them for murders. Okay. So something happened and you cheated on her, on your girlfriend. You already did a horrible thing. ये नहीं हार्वर्ड देखोगे या नहीं ये हार्वर्ड देखोगे, अभी पहले ये हार्वर्ड ख़त्म कर लूँगा यार. So here's the thing. तुमने अपनी बंदी पे चीट करा. Now the dilemma is you really love your girlfriend. You made a horrible mistake, but you really love your girlfriend. You're planning to marry her. ठीक है, maybe उस चीज़ की nervousness, वो marriage वाली foundation, उसके वजह से maybe you cheated on her. Either way, it's a bad thing you did. We all agree it's a bad thing you did. Consequentialist thinking would say, okay, I can just let it slide, never talk about it ever, and I can have a great life. And let's say you had that. तू 90 साल का है, तूने अपनी बंदी पे चीट करा था, तूने कभी बताया नहीं, तुम्हारी शादी हो गई, you just had this beautiful life together. Does the ends justify the mean? उसके बाद वो तुम्हारा relationship कैसा था? You had just amazing relationship. affected a lot of people's lives in positive ways. Utilitarianism या फिर consequentialist thinking कहेगी कि हाँ तूने सही करा, moral good because most people benefit from it क्योंकि तुमने as a couple भी काफ़ी अच्छी चीज़ें करी ना. The theory of कौन सी दूसरी कैटेगरी कौन सी है, would say कि no you didn't, जैसे कांट की थ्योरी, राइट, कांट की थ्योरी like the maxims would say कि नहीं तूने सही नहीं करा क्योंकि your girlfriend in that case was not aware of all the things, तो she couldn't have consented to it. तो तुम्हारा जो एक्शन ही था चीट करने के बाद भी, it might say you cheated again. तो everything you do, ठीक है, जो भी तुम्हारे moral dilemmas होते हैं वो कहीं ना कहीं इन कैटेगरीज में आते हैं. I was making, maybe I made a really stupid example. I think this makes sense though. When Australia won the World Cup, क्या कोई बंदी नहीं है चीट करने को? हो जाएगी भाई, कोई बात नहीं. बंदियों के पीछे मत भागो ना, बंदियाँ आ जाएगी. Oh my god, I just realized that sounded too much like Andrew Tate. I'm sorry guys. When Australia won the World Cup, for most Indians, it may be angry attitude towards Australia, but it was a sexual kinky thing for me. When I was in Australia, when I saw Australian team going carrying the trophy, I masturbated. All right, भाई 16 दिन में 16 बार कैसा रिकॉर्ड है? 10 दिन एब्सटेन का, 16 दिन में 6 बार. सॉरी हर्ष, सॉरी. ठीक है, do it, it's fine, chill.
Principle, and what makes someone legally accountable. In other words, as the judge said, what's always moral isn't necessarily against the law. And while
you guys have a really bad hand. ठीक है, जो तुम्हारे पास ये Instagram, इंटरनेट है ना, जिसमें तुमको मिनट में इम्पल्सेस आती हैं. It's really difficult to if you want to stay abstinence अगर practice करनी है, it's really difficult. I understand that.
I don't think that necessity justifies theft or murder or any illegal act. At some point, your degree of necessity does in fact exonerate you from any guilt.
Okay, good. Other defenders, other voices for the defense. Moral justifications for what they did. Yes?
All right, thank you. I just feel like in a situation that desperate, you have to do what you have to do to survive.
You have to do what you have to do.
You got to do what you got to do, pretty much. If you've been going 19 days without any food, someone just has to take the sacrifice. Someone has to make the sacrifice, and people can survive. And furthermore, from that, let's say they survive, and then they become productive members of society who go home and start like a million charity organizations and this and that and this and that. I mean, they benefit everybody in the end.
Yeah.
So see, this is a complete utilitarian perspective.
I don't know what they did afterwards. They might have gone and like kill more people, and whatever. But
what if they went home and they turned out to be assassins?
What if they gone home and turned out to be assassins? Well,
you'd want to know who they assassinated.
That's true too.
वो ग्राम ही तो है, बेकार रैप है. I'm sure और भी होंगी.
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay. All right, that's good. What's your name?
Marcus.
Marcus. All right. We've heard the defense. A couple of voices for the defense. Now we need to hear from the prosecution. Most people think what they did was wrong. Why? Yes.
One of the first things that I was thinking was,
I also want to. I'm more interested in hearing why would you charge them for murder. Well, I'm not saying it's completely unreasonable to do so, but I think it's very interesting.
if they haven't been eating for a really long time, maybe they're mentally affected, and so then that could be used as a defense, a possible argument that they weren't.
Okay, now she's getting into technicalities. ये तो insanity पे वो कर रही है.
The proper state of mind, they weren't making decisions they might otherwise be making, and if that's an appealing argument that you have to be in an altered mindset to do something like that, it suggests that people who find that argument convincing do think that they were acting in a
Wait, I want to know what you think. You defend them. You vote to convict, right?
Yeah, I don't think that they acted in a morally appropriate way.
And why not? What do you say? Here's Marcus. He just defended them. He said, you heard what he said.
Yes.
That
yes.
you got to do what you got to do in a case like that.
Yeah.
What do you say to Marcus?
Gotta do what you gotta do, man.
That there's no situation that would allow human beings to take the idea of fate or the other people's lives in their
YouTube has some serious issues with Graham के पहले वाले नाम. Oh, okay. Might be, maybe it will be true.
own hands, that we don't have that kind of power.
Good. Okay. Thank you. And what's your name? Rick.
Yes.
Okay. Who else? What do you say? Stand up.
I'm wondering if Ellie and Steven had asked Richard for Richard.
I think यार shit. मैंने ना एक किसी ने पूछा था read my above comment पे था ना शायद गेस्ट का, मेरे माइंड में अचानक से कुछ चीज़ स्ट्राइक करी उससे रिलेटेड. Someone asked, bro please describe with example. कौन सी वाली चीज़ देव, can you clarify? इतना I'll just get to the guest वाली thing. So a guest asked के is it common to fap out of jealousy? So उस टाइम पे I said I don't know, because honestly I don't know, but I'm assuming अचानक से for some reason it sparked in my brain. Here's what fapping is. Fapping is a shortcut to feeling good, right? To feeling somewhat satisfied. That's what fapping is. So whenever you're feeling something which is not great, which is not good, you can get away from it somewhat by fapping. Is this the healthiest thing to do? I don't think so. If you're avoiding something with that, again, but don't take any of what I'm saying that seriously, क्योंकि I could be wrong on all of this. I'm just assuming. I'm just going off. Instagram लिखूं तो लिखूं कैसे? भाई तू वही लिख दे ना, ग्राम लिख दे खाली, मैं समझ जाऊंगा. मैं पहले भी समझ गया था. What's your opinion on you gotta do what you gotta do? I mean, you gotta have some integrity as a human though. Most people don't have that. Exactly. That's why I love जब लोग कहते हैं ना कि भाई humanity तो होनी चाहिए. Humanity बहुत हरामी चीज़ है भाई. Humanity किसने कहा अच्छी है? When people say कि humanity तो होनी चाहिए, they assume कि humans are inherently good. No, we're not. We're horrible people. The range in humanity is exceptional. Exceptional range. तुम देखोगे कुछ ये अभी ये जो भी पूछ रहा है, अच्छा इसकी पूरी चीज़, ऑल राइट, I'll get to it. देव 1 मिनट में. नाम शायद मैं गलत बोल दूंगा, बट आई थिंक आई हैव द ग्रास्प ऑफ द स्टोरी. बट इफ द जेंटल जेफरी इज हियर, ही वुड करेक्ट मी, आई गेस, इफ आई एम गोना से इट रॉन्ग. क्या था? हाँ, तो द वेरिएशन इन ह्यूमैनिटी इज फकिंग अमेजिंग. यूल सी पीपल जो फॉर नो रीज़न तेल डाल के कुत्ते पे आग लगा देंगे, गली के कुत्ते पे, फॉर नो रीज़न. यूल सी दोज पीपल, राइट? यूल से हॉरिबल पीपल, fucking horrible people. What do you think about gays? I don't think anything about gays, man. You do what you do. That's what you like. That's fine, man. I don't like when people feel guilty for these things. I think it's okay as long as you're doing it things with consenting adults. So you'll see humans can be there कि रैंडमली कुत्ते पे तेल डाल के आग लगा दी, बट ह्यूमंस कैन ऑल्सो बी देयर जो अपना सब कुछ छोड़ छाड़ के कुत्तों को या फिर एक नॉर्मली एनिमल्स के लिए अच्छा कर रहे हैं. तो द वेराइटी इन ह्यूमन इज अमेजिंग. सो यू नो, पॉइंटिंग टू ह्यूमैनिटी एज एन आर्ग्यूमेंट नेवर सीम्स राइट, सेट्स राइट विद मी. भाई द लास्ट इनोसेंट जनरेशन was of our parents. Was all of our parents? नहीं, I don't think so. I don't think humans have been inherently good ever. अगर इंसान इतने अच्छे रहे होते हमेशा से, तो हमें रिलीजन और कल्चर्स इन सब की ज़रूरत ही नहीं पड़ती. देव, सो राइट नाउ द पॉइंट इज़, एक रियल लाइफ स्टोरी पे डिस्क्राइब करिए जिसमें ये लोग शिप्स पे होते हैं, राइट? एंड आई एम जस्ट गोना गिव द जिस्ट ऑफ इट. जेंटल विल करेक्ट मी वेयर आई एम रॉन्ग. तो एक बंदे को एक बंदा इज़ अबाउट टू डाई एंड आई थिंक दे कैन सेव हिम, बट इंस्टेड अब वो लोग फंस चुके हैं वहाँ पर बोट में, राइट? अब वो सारे मर जाएंगे, बट इंस्टेड दे डिसाइड बाकी सारी चीज़ें छोड़ के कि अब वो वैसे ही मरने वाला है, उसको जल्दी से मार के मेक हिम द फूड एंड सो वी कैन सर्वाइव फॉर लॉन्गर, जिससे हम शायद बच जाएँ. अब आगे आने वाली जनरेशंस तो और भी मनहूस होने वाली है. भाई हम सारे मनहूस हैं, वी ह्यूमंस एज पीपल वी आर मनहूस. सो दैट्स द पॉइंट कि 4 लोग थे बोट पे फंसे हुए, ठीक है? अब क्या करें भाई, कुछ कर तो सकते नहीं है. एक बंदा ऑलरेडी मरने वाला है, उसको बचाना नहीं है. नहीं, सॉरी, मरने नहीं वाला होता वो, और मरने वाला होता है. आई थिंक आई एम गेटिंग कन्फ्यूज हियर, बट द पॉइंट इज कि एक बंदे को मार के बाकी 3 खा रहे हैं, कैनिबलिज्म. और डिड आई गेट इट कम्प्लीटली रॉन्ग? तो अब वो वापस जो बाकी के 3 बच गए ना, द क्वेश्चन इज कि उनको मर्डर के लिए चार्ज करना चाहिए या नहीं करना चाहिए? क्या वो सेल्फ डिफेंस कर रहे थे अपने आप को बचा के? डू यू थिंक द रिवेंज ऑफ द फादर कैन बी टेकन फ्रॉम हिज इनोसेंट किड्स सन? What do you think? Tell a little bit with detail. Give me a minute, bro. They didn't had the access to mobiles, hence were far away from many bad activities. Don't you think so? See, here's the thing. This is exciting. पूछ रहे थे ना तुम कहाँ काम आता है ये. Here's the thing. जैसे हर्ष ने बोला कि जो हमारे से पिछली वाली, अच्छा एक और क्वेश्चन. So I am trying to follow the lecture. I think I'm following the conversation with the guest. I was following the conversation with Dev. I am now following the conversation with Harsh. And क्या तुम सबके माइंड जैसे काम करते हैं? I'm not saying अच्छा है बुरा. I have no fucking idea. But I have a friend जो गेम खेलते हुए बात भी नहीं कर पाता. मैं गेम खेलते हुए चुप नहीं बैठ पाता. So do your brains also work like that? I don't know. I want to know. So what Harsh is doing here is again appealing to consequentialism. You would know if you were watching the lecture. Consequentialism, you are saying कि उन लोगों के पास फोन्स वगैरह नहीं थे तो इतनी बैड एक्टिविटीज़ वो नहीं करते थे. तो अगर वो बैड एक्टिविटीज़ कर ही नहीं सकते, उसका मतलब नहीं है ना वो मॉरली गुड थे. कर ही नहीं, so see you are going from consequentialism कि कर ही नहीं कुछ बैड एक्टिविटी, even though I might disagree with that. बट हाँ, अगर नहीं थे, वो कर नहीं सकते थे, डजंट मीन दे वर गुड पीपल.
Parker's consent in, dying. If that would that exonerate them from an act of murder? And if so, is that still morally justifiable?
That's interesting. All right, consent. Wait. Hang on. What's your name?
Kathleen.
Kathleen. So suppose they had. What would that scenario look like? So in the story, Dudley is there, penknife in hand, but instead of the prayer, or before the prayer, he says, "Parker, would you mind? We're desperately hungry." As Marcus empathizes with, we're desperately hungry. You're not going to last long anyhow.
Yeah, you can be a martyr.
Would you be a martyr? How about it, Parker? Then what do you think? Would it be morally?
I think I've missed a crucial point in the story. I'm so fucking sorry.
Right, then, suppose Parker.
Yeah. What do you think? करना चाहिए या नहीं? क्या करना चाहिए या नहीं? उसको अच्छा खाना चाहिए या नहीं मार के? Once again, I think I missed a crucial point in the story. Fuck. And I don't think Jetal is here to correct me. Fuck. I'm so sorry. That's extremely disappointing. So you're asking me if we are 4 people, एक बंदे को मार के खाना चाहिए या नहीं? पुराने ज़माने में लोग बात करते होंगे ज़्यादा वो घूमते हुए टेलीफोन से. Okay. Would I want to? Not want to. Of course, I wouldn't want to. I think realistically speaking, most people would. And I am part of the most people. I'm not being too defensive. I think I would. If I'm being that realistic about it. If I don't, everything in my brain is telling me कि नहीं पागल है, किसी को मार के थोड़ी खाएंगे, नहीं. But if I'm trying to be realistic. I think most people would. I think I'm part of most people. So, that's my answer.
In his semi-stupor, says, okay.
I don't think it would be morally justifiable, but I'm wondering...
Even then it wouldn't be.
No.
You don't think that even with consent, it would be morally justified. Are there people who think, who want to take up Kathleen's consent idea and who think that would make it morally justified? Raise your hand if it would, if you think it would.
I think even Kant's theory would say it would be morally permissible. Or justifiable, right? कि अगर उस बंदे ने कह दिया कि हाँ मुझे मार के खा लो.
That's very interesting. Why would consent make a moral difference? Why would it? Yes.
Well, I just think that if he was making his own original idea and it was his idea to start with, then that would be the only situation in which I would see it being appropriate in any way. Because that way you couldn't make the argument that he was pressured, it's 3-1 or whatever the ratio was.
Right.
And I think that if he was making a decision to give his life and he took on the agency to sacrifice himself, which some people might see as admirable, and other people might disagree with that decision.
So if he came up with the idea, that's the only kind of consent we could have confidence in morally, then it would be okay. Otherwise, it would be kind of coerced consent under the circumstances, you think. Is there anyone who thinks that even the consent of Parker would not justify their killing him? Who thinks that? Yes, tell us why, stand up.
I think that Parker would be killed with the hope that the other crew members would be rescued. So there's no definite reason that he should be killed because you don't know when they're going to get rescued. So if you kill him, it's killing him in vain. Do you keep killing the crew member until you're rescued and then you're left with no one? Because someone's going to die eventually?
I don't think I agree with her at all. But why the same person? Again, वही मैं कह रहा हूँ ना, I think I missed a very crucial part of the story. Someone was about to die. I just completely am missing that. I'm so sorry. Should I just rewind it once? अभी मैं कहाँ पर हूँ 41:39 पे ना. I'll just see.
Aryan moral theory, disliked pain. There's no family. And he was on his first, how you would rule, imagining that you're the jury. A newspaper account of the time described the background. A sadder story of disaster at sea was never told than that of the survivors of the yacht Mignonette. The ship foundered in the South Atlantic, 1,300 miles from the Cape. There were 4 in the crew. Dudley was the captain. Stevens was the first mate. Brooks...
चैट पढ़ते रहो भाई. भाई कैसा लगता है तब जब अपना दोस्त बोले कुछ नहीं पढ़ता और scores more than us. Australians are mostly shoey. What do you think? Drinking in shoe, drinking in shoe, they do that. And then entering... yeah, it's part of their culture, I think. I think it's part of their culture. They don't... a lot of people would... which, again, you are aware of it. Some people would find that disgusting. Australians, it's part of their culture. They don't. भाई कैसा लगता है जब उसको यार मेरे तो एक्सपीरियंस में ना ऐसा हुआ ही नहीं. मुझे तो पता ही था मेरे से ज़्यादा स्कोर करना है मेरे आसपास वालों ने, तो मुझे कभी ऐसे वो फीलिंग आई नहीं.
was a sailor, all men of excellent character, or so the newspaper account.
We'll get it right this time, Dave.
The 4th crew member was the cabin boy, Richard Parker, 17 years old.
ठीक है, Richard Parker, R.P. एक तो ये था 4th crew member, ठीक है. All right.
He was an orphan. He had no family, and he was on his first long voyage at sea. He went, the news account tells us, rather against the advice of his friends. He went in the hopefulness of youthful ambition, thinking the journey would make a man of him. Sadly, it was not to be. The facts of the case were not in dispute. A wave hit the ship, and the Mignonette went down. The 4 crew members escaped to a lifeboat. The only food they had were 2 cans of preserved turnips, no fresh water. For the first 3 days, they ate nothing. On the 4th day, they opened one of the cans of turnips and ate it. The next day, they caught a turtle. Together with the other can of turnips, the turtle enabled them to subsist for the next few days. And then for 8 days, they had nothing. No food, no water.
Who is your Bollywood crush? क्या आपकी जगह पे ठंड है? हाँ, मेरी जगह पे ठंड है. कौन सी जगह पे? Bollywood crush. I think Alia Bhatt looked really beautiful in that song Tum Kya Mile mein. I wouldn't call her my crush though. I really liked Preeti Zinta. Yeah.
Imagine yourself in a situation like that. What would you do? Here's what they did. By now, the cabin boy Parker is lying at the bottom of the lifeboat in a corner because
Parker is in the corner. Richard Parker, by the way, guys, the 4th guy, right? Who's the orphan?
he had drunk seawater against the advice of the others. And he had
अच्छा, बाकियों ने उसको मना करा था, उसने सी वाटर पी लिया. Richard Parker
come
ने.
ill, and he appeared to be dying. So on the 19th day, Dudley, the captain, suggested that they should all have a lottery, that they should draw lots to see who would die to save the rest. Brooks refused. He didn't.
Okay, so here's the thing. All right, I got it. Sorry there. 4 लोग थे. एक कैप्टन कह लेते हैं, दूसरा जो भी था, राइट, तीसरा जो भी था, तीसरे को चल ब्रुक्स कह लेते हैं, और चौथा था रिचर्ड पार्कर. ठीक है, ये फंसे. रिचर्ड पार्कर ने पी लिया सी वाटर, राइट, और ऐसा लग रहा था वो मरने वाला है. कुछ दिन बाद या फिर कितने भी टाइम बाद कैप्टन ने बोला, माइन श्रद्धा कपूर, राइट, कुछ दिन बाद कैप्टन ने बोला कि एक ना लॉटरी रखते हैं, देखते हैं कि कौन मरने वाला है नेचुरली, एंड हम उसको मार के खा लेंगे. तो ऑब्वियसली रिचर्ड पार्कर मरने वाला था नेचुरली. तो ब्रुक्स ने कहा नहीं, ऐसा तो नहीं करेंगे हम. ब्रुक्स वॉज नॉट कंफर्टेबल विद इट.
Like the lottery idea. We don't know whether this was because he didn't want to take the chance or because he believed in categorical moral principles. But in any case, no lots were drawn. The next day, there was still no ship in sight. So
Not lottery, but
Dudley told Brooks to avert his gaze, and he motioned to Stevens that the boy Parker had better be killed. Dudley offered prayer. He told the boy his time had come, and he killed him with a penknife, stabbing him in the jugular vein. Brooks emerged from his conscientious objection to share in the gruesome bounty. For 4 days, the 3 of them fed on the body and blood of the cabin boy. True story. And then they were rescued.
अच्छा, तो ब्रुक्स ने भी फिर खाया. Where the man goes if he dies, in your opinion? In the dirt.
Dudley describes their rescue in his diary.
If God is real, then we all go to hell. जो हमारी हरकतें हैं. देखा, एग्जिबिट है. हर्ष का कमेंट पढ़ो.
Staggering euphemism. Quote, on the 24th day, as we were having our breakfast, a ship appeared at last. The 3 survivors were picked up by a German ship. They were taken back to Falmouth in England, where they were arrested and tried. Brooks turned state's witness. Dudley and Stevens went to trial. They didn't dispute the facts. They claimed they had acted out of necessity. That was their defense. They argued, in effect, better that one should die, so that 3 could survive. The prosecutor wasn't swayed by that argument. He said murder is murder, and so the case went to trial. Now imagine you are the jury. And just to simplify the discussion, put aside the question of law, and let's assume that you, as the jury, are charged with deciding
I believe in all religions, man.
whether what they did was morally permissible or not. How many would vote not guilty, that what they did was morally permissible?
अच्छा, तो राइट नाउ वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट दीज 2 guys. ठीक है, इन दोनों का. इसने तो चल मना भी करा था ब्रुक्स ने, राइट, बट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इन दोनों का कि वॉज इट मॉरली परमिसिबल और नॉट. क्योंकि ये बंदा लग रहा था ऑलरेडी मरने वाला है, तो इन्होंने डिसाइड करा इसको मारते हैं और फिर खा के हम तो एटलीस्ट बच जाएंगे. खाया इसने भी, बट ही डिडंट लाइक द आइडिया. तो जो इन दोनों ने करा, पहले दोनों ने, इज इट मॉरली परमिसिबल और नॉट? देयर इज नो अदर रिलीजन देन सनातन. No, there are other religions, man. What do you mean by that?
And how many would vote guilty? What they did was morally wrong. A pretty sizable majority. Now let's see what people's reasons are, and let me begin with those who are in the minority. Let's hear first from the defense.
अच्छा, तो ये वो you got to do what you got to do वाला होगा, right? All right, now we're all the way to here. I hope this makes more sense now.
Was pressured, it's 3-1 or whatever the ratio was.
Right.
And I think that if he was making a decision to give his life, then he took on the agency to sacrifice himself, which some people might see as admirable, and other people might disagree with that decision.
So if he came up with the idea, that's the only kind of consent we could have confidence in morally, then it would be okay. Otherwise, it would be kind of coerced consent under the circumstances, you think. Is there anyone who thinks that even the consent of Parker would not justify their killing him? Who thinks that? Yes, tell us why. Stand up.
I think that Parker would be killed with the hope that the other crew members will be rescued. So there's no definite reason that he should be killed because you don't know when they're going to get rescued. So if you kill him, it's killing him in vain. Do you keep killing the crew member until you're rescued and then you're left with no one? Because someone's going to die eventually.
Well, the moral logic of the situation seems to be that they would keep on picking off the weakest, maybe, one by one, until they were rescued. And in this case, luckily, they were rescued when 3 at least were still alive. Now, if Parker did...
So like he's saying, the moral logic, it's not even the moral logic. It's like sort of the way of the world, actually.
Give his consent. Would it be all right, do you think, or not?
No. It still wouldn't be right.
And tell us why it wouldn't be all right.
First of all, cannibalism, I believe, is morally incorrect. So you shouldn't be eating a human anyway.
So cannibalism is morally objectionable as such. So then, even on the scenario of waiting until someone died, still it would be objectionable.
Yes, to me personally. I feel like it all depends on one's personal morals, and like we can't sit here and just like this is just my opinion. Of course.
But why are we even discussing it? It's up to those 4 people and their individual sense of morality about what's right and should have done. We are discussing it because we are trying to figure out what our sense of morality is.
Other people are going to disagree. But
well, we'll see. Let's see what their disagreements are, and then we'll see if they have reason.
What do you think, Vivek? Vivek कह रहा हूँ. What do you think? Did they do the right thing? Do you think उनको punish होना चाहिए? What do you think? As for the jury, the court do not serve a universal symbol of morality and justice. It doesn't. It doesn't.
That can persuade you or not. Let's try that.
It serves the national sense of morality and justice.
All right. Let's
Universal तो हमारे पास है ही नहीं ना. That's the point of discussing all of this.
Now, is there someone who can explain? Those are
And now you are someone who's not शायद interested in philosophy. मैं उस तरीके से नहीं कह रहा कि ओ तो philosophy में interested क्यों नहीं है? And I get that. This is the most basic criticism of philosophy कि तुम बैठ के भैया क्या ही कर रहे हो discuss. What is the application in real life? I see the application everywhere. I think that's how we view the world. Most of the times हम लोगों को पता नहीं होता कि ये कौन से चश्मे पहन रखे हैं हमने, लाल पीले नीले. But when we get into these discussions, we get aware of these glasses we are wearing, जिसके through हम दुनिया देख रहे हैं.
Who are tempted by consent. Can
you when you start realizing and seeing these things in reality, you'll be living in a different world. Trust me.
Explain why consent makes such a moral difference. What about the lottery idea? Does that count as consent? Remember at the beginning, Dudley proposed a lottery. Suppose that they had agreed to a lottery. Then how many would then say it was all right? Suppose there were a lottery, Cabin Boy lost, and the rest of the story unfolded. Then how many people would say it was morally permissible? So the numbers are rising if we had a lottery. Let's hear from one of you for whom the lottery would make a moral
because they will consider कि अगर lottery करी थी तो it's a form of consent.
difference.
राम भाई जा रहे हैं आप. बाय बाय. मज़े आया आपसे बात करके. अर्पित की वीडियो देखना if possible है, वरना कल देख लेंगे. कल देख लूँगा मैं ये स्ट्रीम. देन अभी जाता हूँ. बाय. गुड नाइट ब्रो. हर्ष टेक केयर. गुड नाइट. बाय.
Why would it?
I think the essential element in my mind that makes it a crime is the idea that they decided at some point that their lives were more important than his, and that, I mean, that's kind of the basis for really any crime, right? It's like my needs, my desires are more important than yours, and mine take precedent. And if they had done a lottery where everyone consented that someone should die, and it's sort of like they're all sacrificing themselves to save the rest.
Then it would be all right.
A little grotesque, but...
But morally permissible?
Yes.
And what's your name?
Matt.
So, Matt, for you, what bothers you is not the cannibalism, but the lack of due process.
I guess you could say that.
Right? And can someone who agrees with Matt say a little bit more about why a lottery would make it, in your view?
This is like the perfect example of the Socratic method. A lot of people find हर कोई कहता है, oh, Socratic selling करो, Socratic method, this and that. Nobody knows how to do that. This is a really good example of the Socratic method. ग्राम पे देखना, पर कल मैं चेक कर लूँगा देखा या नहीं. Okay bro.
Morally permissible. Go ahead.
The way I understood it originally was that was the whole issue, is that the cabin boy was never consulted about whether or not something was going to happen to him, even with the original lottery, whether or not he would be a part of that. It was just decided that he was the one that was going to die.
Right, that's what happened in the actual case.
Right.
But if there were a lottery and they all agreed to the procedure, you think that would be okay?
Right, because then everyone knows that there's going to be a death. Whereas, the cabin boy didn't know that this discussion was even happening. There was no, forewarning for him to know that, hey, I may be the one that's dying.
All right, now suppose everyone agrees to the lottery, they have the lottery, the cabin boy loses, and he changes his mind.
You've already decided. It's like a verbal contract. You can't go back on that. You've decided. The decision was made. If you know that you're dying for the reason for others to live, you would, if someone else had died, that you would consume them. So that's
right. But then he could say, I know, but I lost.
I just think that that's the whole moral issue, is that there was no consulting of the cabin boy, and that's what makes it the most horrible, is that he had no idea what was even going on. That had he known what was going on, it would be a bit more understandable.
All right, good. Now I want to hear, so there are some who think it's morally permissible. But
Can I ask a disgusting question if you allow? Sure, man. But YouTube delete कर देता है ऐसी चीज़ें, so be careful with that.
Only about 20%.
I won't be offended, is what I can say.
By Marcus. Then there are some who say the real problem here is the lack of consent. Whether the lack of consent to a lottery, to a fair procedure, or, Kathleen's idea, lack of consent at the moment of death. And if we add consent, then more people are willing to consider the sacrifice morally justified. I want to hear now, finally, from those of you who think, even with consent, even with a lottery, even with a final murmur of consent by Parker at the very last moment, it would still be wrong. And why would it be wrong? That's what I want to hear. Yes.
Well, the whole time.
What kind of questions should I avoid? यार जिसमें कुछ ज़्यादा वो ऐसी चीज़ें लिखी हैं adultery वाली चीज़, adultery नहीं, जिसमें कुछ ऐसे ज़्यादा words हों शायद, वो YouTube ऑटोमेटिकली ब्लॉक करता है, मैं नहीं कर रहा, तो I cannot really say.
I've been leaning all towards.
लिख के देख ले, अगर आएगा तो चले, नहीं आएगा तो भी चले, मतलब then try changing the vocabulary a little.
It's a categorical moral reasoning, and I think that there's a possibility I'd be okay with the idea of a lottery and then the loser taking it into their own hands to kill themselves, so that there wouldn't be an active murder. But I still think that even that way it's coerced, and also I don't think that there's any remorse. Like in Dudley's diary, we were eating our breakfast. It seems as though he's just sort of like, the whole idea of not valuing someone else's life. So that makes me feel like I have to take a
You want to
categorical
throw the book at
stand.
him?
That's very nice. That's very nice of her. Nobody has yet, क्योंकि that's a very important detail. उसने उस तरीके से लिखा भी था. We were eating our breakfast. I think उसने इस तरीके से शायद इसलिए भी लिखा हो because he has to somewhat justify himself to eat that. कल मेरा इंग्लिश का प्रैक्टिकल है. बेस्ट लक बोल दो भाई मेरे. बेस्ट ऑफ लक. रात को बैठ के तो स्ट्रीम देख रहा है. 11 बज रहे हैं. भग जा, सो रहा. गुड नाइट. So I think that's no, I'm referring to topics. I should avoid if you that you don't like. भाई मुझे ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. I have no issues. You can discuss anything you want.
He lacks remorse or a sense of having done anything wrong.
But really interesting that she brought up the journal. I think he would write it in a way to dehumanize his food, to justify it to himself to a certain degree. That's a very charitable interpretation, by the way.
So, all right, good. Any other defenders of who say it's just categorically wrong, with or without consent? Yes, stand up. Why?
I think undoubtedly where society shape murder is murder. Murder is murder in every way.
मुकुल क्या हाल है भाई? हेयर का क्या करूं? मतलब बाल जा रहे हैं ऐसे? चले ना, क्या हो गया? क्या करना है इनका? See, here's the thing. I personally, okay, अरे चिंता नहीं है, उठ जाते हैं सुबह 6 बजे एंड आता ही है इंग्लिश का, तो आपको देख के अच्छा लगता है मेरे भाई. See you tomorrow and good luck. मुकुल भाई, हेयर का जहाँ तक मुझे पता है ना, I do not know of any good solution to hair fall. So when you don't know a good solution, just accept the reality. Now, ज़्यादातर लोगों को क्या दिक्कत होती है हेयर फॉल वगैरह में कि how would I attract girls? कंचे बंदों को बंदियाँ थोड़ी पसंद करती हैं या फिर बाकी लोग थोड़ी पसंद करते हैं. Hair is a part of your personality. That's true. But the whole sentence is true. Hair is a part of your personality. It is not your personality. Develop the rest of your personality enough to feel good enough about yourself. If you feel lacking, अगर तुम्हारी बाकी की पर्सनैलिटी ख़राब है तो सिर्फ तुम्हारे बाल तुम्हें अट्रैक्टिव या ये सब नहीं बना सकते. अगर तुम्हारी बाकी की पर्सनैलिटी बहुत अच्छी है तो तुम्हारे सिर्फ बाल तुम्हें अनअट्रैक्टिव इतने ज़्यादा नहीं बना सकते. अगर तुम्हें बंदी की टेंशन है तो शायद यू डोंट वांट टू बी विद अ गर्ल तुझे ऐसी बंदी मिलती है. एक सेकंड में थोड़ा चटका लूँ अपनी बॉडी. सो डू यू रियली वांट टू बी विद अ गर्ल who think जिसके सामने एक बंदा है जिसकी perfect personality है, but because उसके बाल नहीं है तो she doesn't want to be with him? Do you really want to be with a girl like that? So chill. If you want to try out some treatments, go for it, right? If it doesn't work out, if it does work out, it's great. If it doesn't work out, it's fine, man. It's part of your personality. Develop the rest of your personality.
Different in case.
So let me ask you a question. There were 3 lives at stake versus 1.
Okay.
The one, the cabin boy, he had no family, he had no dependents. These other 3 had families back home in England. They had dependents. They had wives and children. Think back to Bentham. Bentham says we have to consider the welfare, the utility, the happiness of everybody. We have to add it all up. So it's not just numbers 3 against 1. It's also all of those people at home. In fact, a London newspaper at the time and popular opinion sympathized with them, Dudley and Stephens. And the paper said if they weren't motivated by affection and concern for their loved ones at home and their dependents, surely they wouldn't have done this.
Yeah, and how is that any different from people on the corner trying to have the same desire to feed their family? I don't think it's any different. I think in any case, if I'm murdering you to invest my status, that's murder, and I think that we should look at that on the same light. Instead of criminalizing certain activities and making certain things seem more violent and savage, when in the same case, it's all the same. It's all the same act and mentality that goes into murder, necessity to feed your family. So
suppose it weren't 3, suppose it were 30, 300. One life to save 300. Or in wartime, 3,000.
Okay.
Suppose it takes even bigger.
Suppose it takes even bigger. I think it's still the same deal.
Do you think Bentham is wrong to say the right thing to do is to add up the collective happiness? You think he's wrong about that?
I don't think he's wrong, but I think murder is murder in any case.
Well, then Bentham has to be wrong. If you're right, he's wrong.
Okay, he's wrong.
All right.
Right.
Thank you. Well done. All right, let's step back from this discussion and notice how many objections have we heard to what they did. We heard some defenses of what they did. The defenses had to do with necessity, their dire circumstance, and, implicitly at least, the idea that numbers matter. And not only numbers matter, but the wider effects matter. Their families back home, their dependents. Parker was an orphan. No one would miss him. So if you add up if you tried to calculate the balance of happiness and suffering, you might have a case for saying what they did was the right thing. Then we heard at least 3 different types of objections. We heard an objection that said what they did was categorically wrong, like here at the end, categorically wrong. Murder is always wrong, even if it increases the overall happiness.
So the thing with this is, एक second, don't save. So we have 4. 1, 2, 3 और ये वाला चौथा. I can never make 4 ढंग से. I don't think that by the end of this video we reach at a solution. What should I have done, or what's right or wrong? Then is the point of the video just to gather different perspectives on a situation? Somewhat, that is the point of the video. At the same time, when you get different perspectives about a situation, you get a more of a look in how you think. You're right. You don't like इस वीडियो के बीच में भी उसने बोला था कि there's no end to this. See, these are two vastly different ways of looking at the world, right? And जब तुम्हारे सामने जो चीज़ होती है ना, लेट्स से तुम्हारे पास 2 चश्मे हैं, ठीक है, एंड मतलब ऐसा नहीं है तुम चश्मा हटा नहीं सकते, तुम्हें हमेशा एक चश्मा ही लगाना पड़ेगा. एक चश्मा है जिसमें तुम्हें रेड कलर्स नहीं दिखते, एक चश्मा है जिसमें तुम्हें ब्लू कलर्स नहीं दिखते, ठीक है. द थिंग इज, एक चश्मा तुमने पूरी लाइफ लगा रखा है, तुमने लाइफ टाइम लेट्स से ब्लू कलर्स नहीं देखे, एक और चश्मा है जो ब्लू कलर्स दिखा देगा. इज इट नॉट वर्थ इट जस्ट टू ट्राई इट? ज़रूरी नहीं है पहन के रखूँ मैं हमेशा, शायद मुझे ब्लू कलर्स पसंद ही ना हो, बट इट्स लाइक इंक्रीजिंग योर अवेयरनेस इन दैट सेंस. अपनी खुद की थिंकिंग में यू फाइंड लूप होल्स. तो पहला हो गया इसमें यूटिलिटेरियनिज्म वाला, राइट? यू बनाना चाह रहा था मैं, यूटी कर देता हूँ माँ की आँख. है ठीक है कि यूटिलिटेरियनिज्म के हिसाब से दे डिड द राइट थिंग, राइट? क्योंकि उन्होंने एक बंदे को मारा जिसकी कोई फैमिली भी नहीं थी, खुद की उनकी फैमिलीज भी हैं, ये सब है. सो द ग्रेटर गुड फॉर द मोस्ट अमाउंट ऑफ पीपल, द बिगेस्ट नंबर विच कम्स आउट ऑफ आफ्टर प्लेजर माइनस पेन. यूटिलिटेरियनिज्म के हिसाब से सही करा. नाउ आई थिंक ऑल 3 ऑफ देम समवट लाइज इन कांट्स थ्योरी ऑफ मैक्सिम्स. एक तो अगर वो लॉटरी कर लेते, ठीक है, कि रैंडमली हम किसी एक को मारेंगे, तो ये कांट में आता ही है ऑफकोर्स, क्योंकि सबने कंसेंट दे दिया, चारों लोगों ने, कि क्या होगा. और क्या था?
Categorical objection. But we still need to investigate why murder is categorically wrong. Is it because even cabin boys have certain fundamental rights? And if that's the reason, where do those rights come from, if not from some idea of the larger welfare or utility or happiness? Question number 1. Others said a lottery would make a difference. A fair procedure, Matt said. But, and some people were swayed by that. That's not a categorical objection, exactly. It's saying everybody has to be counted as an equal, even though at the end of the day, one can be sacrificed for the general welfare. That leaves us with another question to investigate. Why does agreement to a certain procedure, even a fair procedure, justify whatever result flows from the operation of that procedure?
You see, when you understand the whole story, and I really appreciate Dr. Vivek Bindra, you might not be interested in it, but you're actually listening and giving thought to this. I really appreciate that. Does a fair procedure justify any result? That's a really good question. That's a really good question. And also, do we have fundamental certain rights? जो कहते हैं ना कि हर किसी की रिस्पेक्ट तो करनी चाहिए. क्यों? करनी चाहिए कि नहीं? That's a different question, but it's in similar category.
Question number 2. And question number 3, the basic idea of consent. Kathleen got us onto this. If the cabin boy had agreed himself, and not under duress, as was added, then it would be all right to take his life to save the rest.
तो yeah, this also a consent वाला जो आ गया, कांत का सी वाला आ गया, कि अगर उसने खुद कंसेंट दिया होता कि हाँ भाई मुझे मार के तुम लोग खा लो. कुछ लोग कह रहे हैं, यू सी इसके अंदर भी कुछ लोग कह रहे हैं कि ये सही है, ये सही है, एंड वट एवर द फोर्थ वन इज. सी ऑल ऑफ दिस इज बेस्ड ऑन कि हर कोई कंसेंचुअली कंसेंट दे रहा है, सॉरी कॉन्शियसली कंसेंट दे रहा है, हर कोई समझ रहा है कि क्या हो सकता है, उसके बाद भी कंसेंट दे रहा है, उसके बाद भी उसके अंदर भी दे रहा है डिस्टिंक्शंस. और ये सारे जो होल्स हैं, ये सारे जो नॉट एग्जैक्टली लूप होल्स, बट ये सारे जो पॉइंट्स हैं, दे एग्जिस्ट इन आवर ओन थिंकिंग if we haven't really thought through our own positions in life.
And even more people signed on to that idea. But that raises a third philosophical question. What is the moral work that consent does? Why does an act of consent make such a moral difference that an act that would be wrong, taking a life without consent, is morally permissible with consent? To investigate those three questions, we're going to have to read some philosophers. And starting next time, we're going to read Bentham and John Stuart Mill, utilitarian philosophers.
You see, so you do 3 questions बताए in the end. Isn't it great that people have thought about these things? People can explain these things in questions ke whatever theories they have, maybe not answers is the wrong way. So it's a morality. I think you mean morality. Yeah, we're discussing morality, the moral side of murder. This is the second episode. अभी तो नहीं देखेंगे second episode. एक बार संदीप सर को देखें. If you're all into this.
आप में से कितने हैं जो यूपीएससी एस्पिरेंट है? हाथ पकड़िए. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. आप में से कितनों लगता है आपका हो जाएगा? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9.
इसका oh my god, I was gonna say something horrible. I was gonna say कि इसका तो नहीं होगा. ये मैं इसलिए कह रहा था. Conclusion bro please. Right now there is none. जो तीसरा पॉइंट है वो ये है कि कंसेंट देने से फ़र्क क्या पड़ता है, क्योंकि मर्डर तो गलत है ही. तो यू सी वी हैव अ यूटिलिटेरियन पर्सपेक्टिव. अगर इसके हिसाब से देखें तो भाई उन्होंने सही करा कि एक अच्छा काम करना क्या होता है कि द बिगेस्ट क्या कहते हैं रिजल्ट ऑफ प्लेजर माइनस पेन. या सो मोस्ट प्लेजर फॉर मोस्ट पीपल. तो यूटिलिटेरियन के हिसाब से देखें तो सही करा. तो इफ़ यू थिंक बाय द वे कि उन्होंने सही करा, उस बंदे को मार दिया जो वैसे ही मरने वाला था और खा लिया, तो सही है. इफ़ यू थिंक उसने सही नहीं करा तो यू हैव टू कंसिडर सम ऑफ दीज. अब इसमें यूल कंसिडर कांत की थ्योरी में भी, मैक्सिम्स की इंटेंशन वाली थ्योरी में भी. कैन आई आस्क समथिंग इंटरेस्टिंग? गेस्ट प्लीज जस्ट गो ऑन एंड आस्क, डोंट वरी अबाउट एनीथिंग. तो इसमें सब ने कंसेंट दे दिया, तो इफ़ यू माइट एग्री हियर कि सब ने कंसेंट दे दिया तो हाँ सही है. नाउ द क्वेश्चन, जो नेक्स्ट डिलेमा आता है कि कंसेंट ऐसा क्या करता है कांट की थ्योरी में, क्योंकि कांट की थ्योरी कैटेगोरिकल थ्योरी है, राइट? सो दैट्स वाई दिस इज नॉट एग्जैक्टली कांट जैसे ही वाज सेइंग ना. सो इट वाज समवट यूटिलिटेरियनिज्म या फिर कॉन्सिक्वेंशियलिस्ट, क्योंकि कंसेंट ऐसा क्या करता है कि जो काम अपने अंदर ही गलत है उससे वो ठीक हो जाए, राइट? के तो बेसिकली अगर देव यू टेल मी कि भाई मेरे साथ कुछ गलत करते हो और मैं तेरे साथ कुछ गलत कर देता हूँ, इज दैट मॉरली राइट और नॉट? सो दैट्स अ इंटरेस्टिंग क्वेश्चन. ये क्या था? ये भी कंसेंट वाला ही था कांड का, कि वो बंदा खुद कहता है कि वो, अगेन दीज आर ऑल रिलेटेड टू कंसेंट. सो द मेन क्वेश्चन इज कंसेंट ऐसा क्या करता है कि विच मेक्स दिस थिंग राइट? आई हैव नो आइडिया. आई थिंक जब हम लोग कहते हैं ना कि कंसेंट ऐसा क्या करता है, वन आंसर इज कि वी ट्रीट पीपल एज कॉन्शियस बीइंग्स हु हैव अ राइट टू लिव, राइट? Who are individuals who have a right to life and who are what is the fucking word, जो वो होते हैं अवेयर होते हैं, जो whatever, there is another word for it, I cannot remember right now, but we are conscious beings, ठीक है, who have some control over our lives. तो कंसेंट से बेसिक फ़र्क ये होता है कि यू आर, जो पूरी जितनी भी ये काल कह रहा हूँ, कांट वाली जितनी भी चीज़ें आ गई ना, ये मैक्सिम्स वाली, उन सब में ये आ रहा है कि यू आर रिस्पेक्टिंग द कंसेंट, विच मीन्स यू आर रिस्पेक्टिंग देयर राइट टू देयर ओन लाइफ, बट यू आर स्टिल टेकिंग इट, बट यू आर रिस्पेक्टिंग देयर राइट टू देयर लाइफ. यूटिलिटेरियनिज्म में यू आर नॉट इवन डूइंग दैट, यू आर लाइक प्लेजर माइनस पेन, व्हाट्स द ग्रेटेस्ट सम, लेट्स सी. सो दैट्स वाई मोर पीपल माइट बी इंक्लाइंड टू द थ्योरी ऑफ मैक्सिम्स और इन सब चीज़ों में, कंसेंट में. That's the if you are asking me for a conclusion, I don't have one, man. I really don't. What do I agree? What do I think? I do think consent makes a difference, and I do think consent makes a difference क्योंकि we are respecting their own right to their own lives. Thank you, bro. It's amazing. Thank you for listening. If there are 5 people trapped in a lift, there is 1 kid and 1 old man and 3 young adults. A ghost came there and said, you have to give me one of the old man or a kid. So decide whose life is more important. Probably the kids. And now this is a completely different question. This is the question of potential. Because we see kids as unmanifested potential. Old man, again, that's by the way, I'm giving a utilitarian perspective. क्यों? भाई 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 के बोर्ड्स भाई हर्ष तो भी हैं भाई को बोर्ड्स का सेंटर 10th में रहता है, क्या समझ नहीं आ रहा मुझे, सेंटर 10th में रहता है वही क्या 12th में भी रहता है यार? आई हैव नो आइडिया, आई ऑनेस्टली हैव नो आइडिया. If two people are fighting each other both with consent, then no one should stop them as long as they don't harm other people. Again, see, there you go. That's a good point. So that's a good point कि why consent matters or even does it matter? Do you agree? I think that's a good point where the question is कि consent matter करता भी है या नहीं करता. But at the same time, अगर वो दो लोग fighters हैं and if they sign a contract, they can fight each other in the rules of the contract. So, see, there are different types of consent. क्योंकि दो लोग जब एक दूसरे से फाइट कर रहे हैं, अगर रैंडमली गली में कर रहे हैं, तो वन माइट बी डूइंग इट इन सेल्फ डिफेंस, द अदर वन माइट बी डूइंग इट आउट ऑफ एग्रेशन. देयर आर लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स दैट वुड कम इन प्ले. बट अदरवाइज पूरी UFC इलीगल होनी चाहिए? बाय द वे, मोस्टली वी बिलीव के भैया इंसानों को जिंदा रहना चाहिए, ठीक है. हम ज़्यादातर दुनिया में ये भी बिलीव नहीं करते सुसाइड भी लीगल नहीं होती, तो उस रीज़न से पीपल वुड स्टॉप. वंस अगेन दैट इज़ अगेन अ यूटिलिटेरियन पर्सपेक्टिव, दैट इज़ नॉट अ मैक्सिम्स वाला, या फिर दैट्स अ नॉट अ कैटेगोरिकल पर्सपेक्टिव, दैट्स अ कॉन्सिक्वेंशियलिस्ट पर्सपेक्टिव. क्यों? अगर दो लोग लड़ रहे हैं, है ना, उन दोनों को लड़ते हमने रोक लिया, क्यों? क्योंकि दो लोग हार्म हो रहे हैं, विच इज़ अगेन डिक्रीजिंग द सम ऑफ द आंसर टू ग्रेटर सम ऑफ प्लेजर माइनस पेन वाला, है ना, क्योंकि दो लोग तो हर्ट हो ही रहे हैं ना. अगर इनको रोक देते हैं तो दो लोग भी हर्ट नहीं हो रहे, रिगार्डलेस ऑफ देयर कंसेंट.
1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. आप इसे कितना लगता है आपका हो जाएगा?
हाँ, मैं कह रहा था इसका नहीं होने वाला, क्योंकि ही लुक्ड एट एवरीवन के कोई खड़ा कर रहा है हाथ, कोई खड़ा कर रहा है हाथ. सो आई जस्ट, बट आई होप हो जाए मेरे भाई. Everyone is looking at everyone. ये देख, that's very interesting. That's very interesting social experiment actually.
आप इसे कितने यूपीएससी एस्पिरेंट्स हैं? हाथ ऊपर करिए. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7.
अच्छा, ये तो चल वैसे ही देख रहा है, तो एस्पिरेंट भी नहीं है, तो क्यों देख रहा है?
8 9 10. आप इसे कितना लगता है आपका हो जाएगा?
तो इसी शी इज़ विलिंग टू जस्ट रेज हर हैंड. इसने तो पहले ही, और इसने तो शायद नीचे ही नहीं करा. ही इज़ लाइक के बाकी कर रहे हैं क्या? हाँ, कर रहे हैं, मैं भी कर देता हूँ.
1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 को लगा.
Dude, Sandeep Mehshwari is funny.
मतलब जो तैयारी नहीं भी कर रहा उसको लगाएगा नहीं, मेरा तो हो जाएगा. तो यहाँ मुझे खुल के बात करना चाहिए, मतलब जो भी कोचिंग में जान कर रहे हो.
तो प्रिपरेशन अभी से स्टार्ट कर रहा हूं.
अभी आप स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं, यानी आपने ज्वाइन कर लिया है या नहीं?
ज्वाइन कर लिया, 8 मंथ हो चुके हैं. बहुत सारी चीजें नई सीखने को मिलती हैं. अभी जैसे बाहर के हम टर्म सुनते हैं, कुछ भी नया बाहर लेकिन पता चलता है एक्चुअली है क्या. जो स्टूडेंट डिटेल में पढ़ते हैं जीएस में या उसमें, तो उसी बारे में जानकारी और याद हो जाती है.
उस जानकारी का क्या करोगे?
आगे हम काम आएगा ये तो.
By the way, you can see this is also edited. So जो पूरी संदीप महेश्वरी और विवेक बिंद्रा में बात हो रही थी ना कि एडिटेड वीडियो है, सारी वीडियोस एडिटेड होती है.
एग्जाम काम आएगा, लेकिन जॉब करने जाओगे काम आएगी जानकारी. इफ यू आर एन एस्पिरेंट फॉर 4 years 5 years 6 years, उसके बाद आप जॉब करने के जाते हो और बोलते हो कि मेरे पास में जानकारी है, तो क्या जॉब मिल जाएगी आपको?
वहां पर तो नहीं सर, बस ये सोशली और जो थोड़ा इंटेलेक्चुअल और मेंटली ये सब डेवलप हो जाएगा.
व्हाट इज द यूज ऑफ दिस डेवलपमेंट? अगर वो क्रैक नहीं हुआ, मैं आपको डिमोटिवेट नहीं कर रहा हूं कहीं से भी. एक प्रॉब्लम को समझने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. आर यू गाइस इंटरेस्टेड?
हाँ गाइस, मैं मोटिवेशनल स्पीकर हूँ, डीमोटिवेशनल स्पीकर नहीं हूँ. जस्ट मेक श्योर यू रिमेंबर दैट. बट इंटरेस्टिंग क्वेश्चन. आई थिंक द इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग हियर इज सिर्फ अवेयरनेस ऑफ जनरल इवेंट्स डजंट डू गुड. यू सी, डॉक्टर विवेक बिंद्रा मोटिवेशनल स्पीकर आपके लिए, आई एम सेइंग दिस, यू कैन हैव ऑल ऑफ दिस नॉलेज. यहाँ पे ये हो रहा है, यहाँ पे वो हो रहा है, यहाँ पे वो हो रहा है, यहाँ पे ये हो रहा है. उसके बाद ना हमारे माइंड में जजमेंट भी होती है कि ये साला सही हो रहा है, ये साला गलत हो रहा है. वो जजमेंट अपने बहुत सारे बायसेस की वजह से होती है, और वो जो बायसेस होते हैं वो उन थिंकिंग्स में से कोई एक थिंकिंग का ग्लास लगा रखा है उसने.
कितने हैं हाथ बताओ.
तो हम लाइक उस लेवल पे का वो देख रहे थे लेक्चर.
ठीक है, समझ गया. तो अभी आप यूपीएससी की तैयारी कर रहे हैं. बेस्ट केस सिनेरियो क्या है कि आपका पहले अटेम्प्ट में ही हो जाता है. वर्स्ट केस सिनेरियो क्या है कि जितने भी अटेम्प्ट आपके पास में है आपने सारे दे दिए, उसके बाद भी नहीं.
और मेरा मेन पॉइंट ये था कि वो सारी चीज़ें पता होने से ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है having a clear enough mind to make a clear enough judgment on the events that are happening that you learned about or you know whatever.
क्योंकि होने की पॉसिबिलिटी ऑलमोस्ट 0% है. ये आप भी जानते हो, मैं भी जानता हूं. मैं आपसे ना बेसिक से क्वेश्चंस पूछ रहा हूं. आपको पता है
उसकी फट गई भाई, उसकी फट गई लड़के की बेचारे की. जैसे उसने बोला ना कि 0%
बेसिक की तैयारी कर रहे हैं. बेस्ट केस सिनेरियो क्या है कि आपका पहले अटेम्प्ट में ही हो जाता है. वर्स्ट केस सिनेरियो क्या है कि जितने भी अटेम्प्ट आपके पास में है आपने सारे दे दिए, उसके बाद भी नहीं हुआ. क्योंकि होने की पॉसिबिलिटी ऑलमोस्ट 0% है. ये आप भी जानते हो, मैं भी जानता हूं.
Look at his face.
मैं आपसे ना बेसिक से क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा हूं. आपके ऊपर आप उसका जवाब देना चाहते हो या नहीं चाहते हो, बट इस क्वेश्चन से क्या होगा कि एटलीस्ट आपकी जो क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग है वो डेवलप होगी. नॉट जस्ट इन्फॉर्मेशन व्हिच इज फीडेड इन योर ब्रेन जिसका आपको लगा कि कोई यूज.
क्रिटिकल ब्रो, टुडे स्ट्रीम इज ऑसम. थैंक्स मैन. नेक्स्ट स्ट्रीम कब करोगे ब्रो? मैं रोज स्ट्रीम कर रहा हूँ ब्रो, क्योंकि अभी काम है थोड़ा. नेक्स्ट स्ट्रीम में मिलूंगा. मैं रोज स्ट्रीम कर रहा हूँ ब्रो. उसने सोचा था आसान है और संदीप बोल रहा है 0%. क्या मैं इसकी आग, तुम्हारा अनस्टॉपेबल देख के मेरे सपने सजा लिया यूपीएससी करने के. नाइस वन.
तो बेस्ट केस सिनेरियो ये है कि अगर आपका हो गया तो बहुत ही बढ़िया है, नहीं हुआ तो क्या प्लान है?
तो सर बैकअप कुछ सोचा नहीं है अभी, कॉन्फिडेंस है कि हो जाएगा सर.
कॉन्फिडेंस है कि हो जाएगा. वो तो अभी यहाँ पे 10 लोग तैयारी कर रहे हैं यूपीएससी की, उनमें से 11 को कॉन्फिडेंस है कि उनका हो जाएगा.
सर अटेम्प्ट हुआ नहीं लेकिन अंदर से भी तो आ रहा है कि हो जाएगा.
अब मुझे ये बताओ कि आपने किया क्यों, ज्वाइन क्यों किया है?
लोग
ऐसा मैं कुछ पॉइंट बोलने वाला था, भूल गया.
काम वेलफेयर का भी काम कर सकते हैं जो लोगों को जरूरत है.
जो हाँ, लाइक संदीप महेश्वरी सेड कि क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग के लिए मैं कर रहा हूँ. सो दैट इज एक्चुअल क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग व्हाट वी आर वाचिंग.
जैसे मेट्रो स्टेशन पे देखो,
क्योंकि अल्टीमेटली क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग ना इन चीज़ों के बारे में नहीं होगी ना कि 2+2 4 होता है या नहीं होता. रीड माई अबव, मैंने मिस कर दिया क्या ब्रो? इफ़ देयर आर, अच्छा घोस्ट और वो मैंने बताया तो पोटेंशियलिटी वाला वो, अगर उसमें यूटिलिटेरियन पर्सपेक्टिव से देखें तो कि बूढ़ा बंदा जो है वो अपनी लाइफ जी चुका है. अगर उसके बाद तूने कोई और मैसेज भेजा था तो वो यूट्यूब डिलीट कर चुका है, क्योंकि एंड दैट इज़ व्हाट आई हैव अबव. उसका आंसर वही था कि बूढ़ा बंदा जो है वो अपनी लाइफ जी चुका है. देयर इज़ अ पोटेंशियल कि जो छोटा बच्चा है ही कैन हैव अ ग्रेट फकिंग लाइफ एंड डू रियली ग्रेट थिंग्स. You know, if you look at bright sides of things, तो utilitarianism के हिसाब से they'll go like, oh, let's save the child.
तो देखता हूं मैं भी जैसे जाता हूं कोचिंग रास्ते में, ये लोग भी वगैरह यहाँ पे ड्रैगिंग का काम बहुत ज़्यादा है.
I think it's very difficult maxims या फिर consequentialism नहीं, categorical thinking में उस ऐसी चीज़ का जवाब देना, one life over the other.
दिल्ली में तो मेरी मानी हो.
I think it's very difficult. If you are asking me, बूढ़ा या फिर बच्चा, obviously considering that I have nothing to personal with either of them, I would on basis of my surface level thinking, I would go for the बूढ़ा आदमी.
तो यहाँ की लगता है इसका भी सोल्यूशन होना चाहिए.
ये गलतफहमी हमारे माइंड में कहाँ से आ रही है कि हम कुछ भलाई करना चाहते हैं तो उसका ये रास्ता है. मुझे ये बताओ कि कौन सा ऐसा इंसान है जो भलाई नहीं कर रहा है? गिव मी वन कैटेगरी ऑफ पीपल.
भाई संदीप महेश्वरी तो थप्पड़ दे रहे हैं इन सब में. साढ़े यूपीएससी करोगे तो मेरा पैड.
बट डूइंग समथिंग लीगल, इलीगल की बात छोड़ दो. ध्यान से सुनना मैंने क्या कहा. लीगली कोई इंसान कहीं पर जॉब कर रहा है, टैक्सेस पे कर रहा है, जिसकी वजह से देश चल रहा है, कहीं पर काम कर रहा है जिसकी वजह से कोई कंपनी चल रही है, जिसकी वजह से आपकी लाइफ चल रही है. आज जो प्रोडक्ट्स और सर्विसेज यूज करते हो उसमें कितनी है जो प्राइवेट कंपनीज बनाती हैं और कितनी है जो पब्लिक कंपनीज बनाती हैं. मेजॉरिटी ऑफ प्रोडक्ट्स एंड सर्विसेज दैट यू आर यूजिंग, जिसके बेस पे आपकी लाइफ टिकी हुई है, वो प्राइवेट कंपनी चलाती है. तो जो पूरे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को संभाल रहे हैं, क्या वो पब्लिक वेलफेयर नहीं है? क्या एक डॉक्टर जो कहीं पर काम कर रहे हैं, चाहे प्राइवेट क्लिनिक है, चाहे किसी गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल में, चाहे प्राइवेट हॉस्पिटल में, क्या वो पब्लिक वेलफेयर नहीं है? क्या उसके बिना हमारा देश चल जाएगा? तो गलतफहमी कहाँ से आ जाती है हमारे माइंड में कि अगर हमको पब्लिक वेलफेयर करना है तो उसका ये रास्ता है.
भाई जिसने कहा था ना, शायद डॉक्टर विवेक बिंद्रा ने कहा था कि संदीप महेश्वरी ने अभी 12th फेल देखी है. Is being a utilitarian being selfish because someone might consume to an extent that it harms others just because it has utility? नहीं, utilitarianism, once again I'll get into it, it's actually the other way around. You can be quite unselfish through that. मेरे पास ये यार पुराने नोट्स में से, it's easier to explain it this way. Whatever produces the greatest result for pleasure minus pain must be the moral thing to do. तो अगर मुझे अपने आप को मारना भी would be the greatest result of pleasure minus pain for the world would be the moral thing to do. So it can be unselfish, right? ये रॉबर्ट नोजिक का कुछ I have a counter. If you could plug yourself into a machine and pre-program it to be the most pleasurable so this is the issue with thinking of pleasure as the greater good. If you could plug yourself into the machine and pre-program it to be the most pleasurable thing for your entire lifetime, would or should you do it? Would it be rational? Robert believes most people would and should say no. And there must be some higher purpose, meaning to life. Some of which is control of yourself, making friends, being a kind person, and doing actual things, not just seeking pleasure or receiving pleasure. So, but this is again much more complicated than simple questions and answers, you know.
और सच क्यों नहीं बोलते हैं? जो है वो
I have fetish for shoes. Whenever I go to brand shoe store, my heart rate increases. I feel intimidation that I am getting my erection in the shop, especially when I go near to see the formal shoes. It's fine if you have that fetish, man. It's totally fine. Are you also gay? That's another question. क्योंकि तूने पूछा था gay के बारे में कुछ.
क्यों नहीं बोलते हैं? कि हमें पावर चाहिए. हमें सोसाइटी में एक स्टेटस.
And you were also talking about other guys. I didn't hear you talk about girls.
ठीक है. हम ये कहानियां क्यों साथ में करने लग जाते हैं कि मुझे कुछ वेलफेयर करना है.
Also, I get that you are into fetishism. So do you not find the sexual organs arousing? Yeah, I'll definitely look more into utilitarianism philosophy. That's great, man. We can do it together.
अगर आपने ये क्रैक कर लिया मान लो 2-4-5 साल बाद, और आपको मैं एज एन इंटरव्यूअर ये ऑप्शन देता हूं कि आपको जॉब तो मिलेगी, लेकिन वो करने को नहीं मिलेगा जो आप करना चाहते हो, यानी कि क्या, पब्लिक डीलिंग ना, वो सब नहीं मिलेगा। पूरी जिंदगी भर यहां पर ऑफिस में बैठ करके ये काम करना होगा जो हम कह रहे हैं, लेकिन थप्पा मिल जाएगा कि आपका हो गया, तो करोगे, छोड़ दोगे? छोड़ देंगे सर।
But you see, okay, I really want to point this distinction out. जो लोग शुरू से स्ट्रीम देख रहे हैं, the way Sandeep Maheshwari is talking, he's technically doing the Socratic method, but he's not doing the Socratic method in reality. I shouldn't have said technically. He's trying to do the Socratic method. You know, it seems like through questioning, he's coming to a conclusion, but that's not what he's doing. You can clearly see when Sandeep Maheshwari is speaking, he has a conclusion in his mind. He's trying to get to that through questioning. So it's not exactly simple questioning.
उस दिन तो सर चला गया।
That's just my reading of it. I could be completely wrong on this.
ठीक है, नया मिल रहा है, उसके बाद हम आगे करना चाहते हैं तो कर ही नहीं रहे हैं।
जिस गोल को पाने में आपने 5 साल लगाए, आप कह रहे हो उसको पाने के बाद में मैं छोड़ दूंगा।
वो तो सर एक यूपीएससी रास्ता है, तो करना वो जो वही नहीं कर पा रहे तो फिर क्या फायदा है?
तो फिर वो क्यों रास्ता है? और भी बहुत सारे रास्ते हैं, जिसको करना है उसके लिए बहुत सारे रास्ते हैं, वही क्यों रास्ता है? लाइफ में अगर सच में कुछ करना है ना, तो आपकी जो शुरुआत है वो हमेशा सच्चाई से होनी चाहिए। अगर शुरुआत ही झूठ पर हो गई, पूरी जिंदगी झूठ बोलते रहोगे, दुनिया से भी और खुद से भी। सच बोलो ना कि भाई मुझे पावर चाहिए।
Whereas a lot of people have foot fetishes. Like 3 of my close friends confessed to me about their attraction towards feet, and I realized foot fetishes is way more common. The thing with me is, nobody asked, साले तुम मुझसे क्यों नहीं पूछ रहे? The thing with me is कि मैं ना I can hello again हर्ष को नायत चैन कतीवी. The thing with me is I can see myself getting interested in any fetish actually if I work hard enough. I'm an extreme switch. One day I'm someone else, the other day I'm someone else.
मुझे और किसी चीज से कोई लेना देना
So for me, none of the fetishes I would find that odd. I completely get it.
सड़क पे जाकर भिखारी की मदद करनी, अभी कर दो, कौन रोक रहा है? चलो एक काम करो, मैं आपको ऑफर देता हूँ, देखते हैं कितनी मदद करते हो भिखारियों की। आप जा करके अगले 1 महीने तक भिखारियों की मदद करो सड़कों पे, उसके लिए जो पैसा लगेगा मैं दूंगा आपको, लेकिन आपको दिन में 12 घंटे काम करना होगा, करोगे? और 1 महीने तक आप यहाँ पे नहीं जा पाओगे, जो भी आपकी कोचिंग है।
That's a clear lie.
अब बोलो यस सर, बोलो आपके लिए इंपॉर्टेंट क्या है, ये कोचिंग या फिर मदद करना सड़क पे जो भिखारी है उनकी मदद?
I can totally relate to that. To being a switch.
तो वो इंपॉर्टेंट है तो कोचिंग के बारे में आप यही तो कह रहे हो ना कि भाई वो कोचिंग मैं इसलिए ले रहा हूँ क्योंकि कोचिंग करके मेरा ये हो जाएगा और मैं भिखारियों की मदद करूंगा। मैं आपको एक ऑप्शन दे रहा हूँ, ओपन ऑप्शन, देखते हैं आप ये एक्सेप्ट करते हो नहीं कर सकते। यूपीएससी क्रैक करने के बाद आपको जो सैलरी मिलेगी उतना पैकेज मैं आपको अभी देता हूँ, लेकिन दिन में 12 घंटे आपको वो करना पड़ेगा जो आप कह रहे हो, यानी 12 घंटे दिन में सुबह से लेकर के रात तक भिखारियों की मदद करनी होगी। उसके लिए
That's a very interesting dilemma.
तो पैसा लगेगा, वो हमारी कंपनी का सीएसआर डिवीजन है, वो आपको पे करेंगे।
और भी डिपार्टमेंट है ना, और भी काम है उसमें, सिर्फ यही थोड़ी यूपीएससी।
और भी काम है, पर तुरंत यही करना था।
जैसे और कौन सा डिपार्टमेंट है?
और भी
एक मिनट सुनो हाँ?
और भी लोग हैं जरूरतमंद जिन्हें जरूरी नहीं है भिखारी, और भी लोग हैं।
नहीं भिखारियों को आपकी जरूरत है नहीं है, भिखारियों को आपको नहीं करना
है सर, और भी है।
देखो और भी तो फिर और तो बहुत कुछ है, सबका तो आप मदद कर भी नहीं सकते, एक जिंदगी कम पड़ जाएगी। एक जिंदगी में एक कैटेगरी को आपको चूज करना होगा जो आपके लिए सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है, उसको जो आपको मदद करनी है वो मुझे बताओ किसको करनी है। और मैं आपको ये कह रहा हूँ कि कोचिंग छोड़ो, आपको जो करना है 5-10 साल बाद वो अभी करो और फ्रीली करो। बोलो ऐसा कौन सा कॉज है जिसके आपके अंदर से आ रहा है, अगर आ रहा है तो, या फिर सच बोल दो कि नहीं नहीं ये भिखारी की बातें हैं, मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, मेरे लेग पे बैठा होता हूं, भिखारी आता है मैं उसको भगा देता हूं।
बैठे बैठे सिस्टम बैठा दिया। मैम का मैसेज था कल का इंग्लिश का प्रैक्टिकल है जिसको देना है दे वरना बाद में भी हो सकता है, सो इट्स नॉट नेसेसरी। सो दोस्त और मैं छुट्टी का प्लान बना लिया। सही मैम है यार तुम्हारी। संदीप पहले डिफाइन करेगा गरीबों की हेल्प कैसे करेगा, लाइक इन व्हाट एस्पेक्ट। हाँ करे संदीप पहले डिफाइन करे।
स्टार्टिंग सर ये जब पहली बार सोचा था तभी था लोगों को देख के,
लेकिन जब आप मेरी बात सुन रहे हो तो रियलिटी सामने आ रही है और समझ आ रहा है कि मेरे को भिखारी
उस टाइम से ग्लैमर और ये सब नहीं
इजी दैट संदीप माहेश्वरी
देखा था कि स्टेटस यार इससे ये सब मिलता, उस टाइम ये सब नहीं था कुछ भी।
उस वक्त भिखारी था,
लेकिन अभी ग्राउंड लेवल पे जो है वो अब तो ये सोशल मीडिया के थ्रू और बढ़ता जा रहा है।
हां अब आई ना असलियत देखो एक एक करके चीजें सामने आ रही हैं सोशल मीडिया।
But you see the way Sandeep Maheshwari went, हाँ भाई ना असलियत. So that's what I mean when I say कि Sandeep Maheshwari is not exactly doing the Socratic method. Socratic method होता है तुम questions करके to reach somewhat of a conclusion, or you point out the flaws in thinking. But I said Sandeep Maheshwari was not doing Socratic method. He was doing something which seemed similar to Socratic method. So when he goes कि हाँ अब आई ना हकीकत सामने, that's like हाँ you had that conclusion in your mind beforehand. You were trying to direct the conversation over there. And maybe you're right, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just pointing something out.
पे आपको कुछ ऐसे लोग दिख रहे हैं जिनको देख करके आपके माइंड में इमेज बनी हुई है कि अगर मेरा ये हो गया मेरी भी ऐसी लाइफ होगी, और वो लाइफ ऐसी है जो आपको दिखाई जा रही है, एक्चुअल में नहीं है, और वो दिखाना भी सही नहीं है। आप देख करके तालियां बजाते हो कितना अच्छा काम किया इन्होंने, अच्छा नहीं है वो काम। वो बिल्कुल ऐसा है जैसे नायक मूवी में नहीं होता कि अभी इंसाफ, सीधा गाड़ी से उतरे, बढ़िया सा पीछे म्यूजिक लगा हुआ है स्लो मोशन में, हां भाई तू क्या कर रहा है, चल यहां से निकल। वो कह रहा नहीं जी बाबूजी नहीं। अब वो सोचो जो इंसान हाथ जोड़ रहा है, उसके पैर पड़ रहा है, वो आपका बाप है। अभी सही है काम या गलत है? इंसाफ का ये तरीका नहीं है। एक इंसान की इज्जत होती है और उसको सोशल मीडिया पे डालने की परमिशन दी किसने? अगर एक इंसान ने रेड लाइट जंप करी है या कोई क्राइम किया है तो उसको उसकी सजा दो ना। रेड लाइट जंप करने का चालान होता है 1000 रुपए 2000 रुपए, वहां पर आकर के नायक क्यों बनना है? और बच्चों के माइंड में ऐसी इमेजेस क्यों क्रिएट करनी है कि दुनिया में कोई हमारे आगे कुछ
Okay, he's talking about those videos जो आजकल बहुत ज़्यादा चल रही हैं। हाँ, I completely agree with Sandeep Maheshwari on that. एक इंसान की इज्जत होती है। I completely agree on that. भाई छुट्टी के प्लान बनाते ही यार घर बैठ के पढ़ो, अच्छा है, 1 महीना बचा है बोर्ड्स को। हाँ भाई, तू पढ़ ले। अकाउंट्स जितना कर लो उतना कम है, इकोनॉमिक्स में काफ़ी डिफ़िकल्टी है, आ रही है, ट्रिक क्वेश्चन आते हैं। आई कैन नॉट हेल्प यू विद दैट। काश मैं पढ़ लिखा होता, तेरी मदद कर देता यार।
नहीं बोल पाएगा, और मैं जाकर किसी के साथ भी कुछ भी कर दूंगा। ये सब वो जो कर रहे हैं ये सब गलत है। कांट यू सी दैट कि भाई अगर आपने रेड लाइट जंप करी है तो इतनी पावर है उसके पास में, किसी भी ऑफिसर के पास में, कि वो आपका उतने का चालान काट सकता है जितना कि लॉ एंड ऑर्डर कहता है। बट उसमें ये नहीं लिखा हुआ है कि उस इंसान को आप सोशल मीडिया पे जलील करोगे लाखों करोड़ लोगों के सामने। ये कहां लिखा हुआ है? क्या उस इंसान ने ये परमिशन दी उसको, अफसर को, क्या पब्लिक
आई कंप्लीटली एग्री विद संदीप महेश्वरी।
के लिए जाकर के मुझे ह्यूमिलिएट कर सकते हो? और ये जनता ये नहीं समझ रही है कि वो पावर वो उस आदमी पे नहीं दिखा रहे हैं, वो आपके ऊपर दिखा रहे हैं और आप खुश हो रहे हो कि बहुत अच्छा काम हो रहा है। मैं आप सबको बहुत बड़ा भ्रम तोड़ रहा हूं। अव्वल तो ऐसा होता नहीं है जैसा दिख रहा है सोशल मीडिया पे, और अगर कोई ऐसा कर भी रहा है तो वो करना इलीगल है। इस बात को अच्छे से समझ लो। ये जो कोचिंग वाले हैं जितने भी, वो आपके साथ ऐसी बातें नहीं करेंगे जैसी मैं कर रहा हूं। वो क्या बोलेंगे? ऐसी बातें करना छोड़ दो कि कितनी सीट है और कितनी नहीं है। तुझे तो एक ही सीट चाहिए ना। आप ये मत सोचो कि 10 लाख लोग अप्लाई करते हैं उसमें इतना होता है इतना नहीं होता है। अरे तुझे तो एक ही सीट चाहिए, वो एक सीट तेरी ही है। सबको ये बोल रहे हैं।
UPSC is crazy hard, but how are people who become IAS, IPS officers after so much struggle do something like teenage childish things? That's जो संदीप महेश्वरी ने यहाँ पे बोला है ना, that's again यार तुझे लगा कि मैं ना हर चीज़ को एक ही चीज़ में घुसाने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ, but that's again a point which comes after philosophical thinking. यू वॉच दृष्टि IAS, ये सब, इनके पास बहुत सारी फिलोसफी की वो है वीडियोस। ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं ये क्लेम नहीं कर रहा कि वो फिलोसफी नहीं समझते। आई एम नॉट मेकिंग दैट क्लेम एट ऑल, बट पीपल आर पीपल, अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल आर इनटू इट फॉर देयर ओन गेन एज वेल। फेमस होना किसको नहीं पसंद, नायक वाली चीज़ किसको नहीं पसंद, लाइक संदीप महेश्वरी जस्ट सेड। आई एग्री कंप्लीटली।
अरे कोचिंग वालों को क्या चाहिए, वो तो खोल दो, वो तो एक अलग ही गेम है और बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग गेम है अगर आप समझ पाओ तो। वो अगर किसी में थोड़ा सा भी दिमाग होगा तो वो समझ जाएगा कि गेम क्या है और किस लेवल पे है। कि अगर कोचिंग में मान लो फॉर एग्जांपल 20,000 बच्चा है जो 2 लाख रुपए दे रहा है, तो कितना पैसा हो गया एक साल का? 4 करोड़। ऐसे यूपीएससी क्रैक करोगे?
What the fuck, संदीप महेश्वरी? भाई चखने में क्या अच्छा रहेगा? आई एम थिंकिंग ऑफ मैगी। यार चखने का कंसेप्ट मुझे पता नहीं ज़्यादा क्या अच्छा रहता है। ज़्यादा नमकीन चीज़ अच्छी नहीं लगती उसमें। आई डोंट नो, मैं दारू नहीं पीता तो आई हैव नो आइडिया। बट नाइस रोस्ट बाय संदीप महेश्वरी।
जवाब दो, 20,000 इंटू 2 लाख कितना हुआ एक साल का? 400 करोड़ रुपए वो कोचिंग वाला कमा रहा है, चाहे आपका हो या ना हो। ज्वाइन करते वक्त आप में इतना भी दम नहीं है कि जाकर के कोचिंग वाले से पूछो कि ये टॉपर्स को छोड़ो जो आपको 2-4 नाम बता रहे हो जिनका आपकी कोचिंग के थ्रू हुआ है, मुझे एग्जैक्ट नंबर दो कि पिछले साल कितने लोगों ने आपके यहाँ से किया, उसमें से कितनों का हुआ और कितनों का नहीं हुआ। तब एक परसेंटेज निकल के आपके सामने आएगी और तब एटलीस्ट
उसके बावजूद भी अगर वो तुमको दे भी देते हैं ना कि देखो हमारे यहाँ से ही 10 लोग गए हैं, इट डजंट मीन तुम जाओगे। You need to have a really high IQ just to crack UPSC. You need a really high IQ for these things. मेरा नहीं होता. If I tried, मेरा नहीं होता. I know that. The good thing about knowing that is I never have to try it. Even though मेरा मन करता है, I'm a competitive person by nature. मेरा मन करता है, but right now I cannot give enough time to it. But so when I realized how I was never into UPSC. I never really cared much about it. When I realized how difficult it is, उस दिन से मेरा पैस यार करना है यार, ट्राई करना चाहिए. I really want to try it. नहीं होगा but I know that. But जब मैं ये कह रहा हूँ ना नहीं होगा but I know that मेरे दिमाग में don't say that. Try it. आसान है. You need a really high IQ. Most people don't have a really high IQ. That's why most people are most people like you and me.
अब ये कर पाओगे जो अगर आपको करना ही है, कसम खा ली है कि नहीं मुझे तो करना ही है, तो आप थोड़ा तरीके से करोगे. ऐसे नहीं कि बस किसी को देखा किसी के फेस वैल्यू पे जाकर कोई कोचिंग ज्वाइन कर लिया. फॉर एग्जांपल किसी के यहाँ पे 1000 बच्चे हैं और 10 का हुआ तो परसेंटेज में कितना आया? 1%. किसी के यहाँ पे 10,000 बच्चे हैं और 20 का हुआ तो कितना परसेंट? 0.2%. तो कौन सी कोचिंग आपको ज्वाइन करना चाहिए आइडियली? जो छोटी है.
Now she is just mad. No, she is just mad कि मैं अरेंजमेंट में कुछ गलत नहीं बोलूँगी. Look at her face.
किसी के यहाँ पे 1000 बच्चे हैं और 10 का हुआ तो परसेंटेज में कितना आया? 1%.
1%.
10,000 बच्चे हैं और 20 का हुआ.
Look now.
0.2%.
0.2. I know. मेरा तो हो ही जाएगा क्रैक. Don't you worry.
तो कौन सी कोचिंग आपको ज्वाइन करना चाहिए आइडियली? जो छोटी है, इसकी सक्सेस रेशियो बेटर है. बजाय ऐसी कोचिंग को जिसका नाम बहुत है लेकिन सक्सेस रेशियो बहुत कम है.
सर रियलिटी तो कोई बताता नहीं है ना अपने बारे में.
तो रियलिटी पता करो. क्या इसके बारे में होनी चाहिए या नहीं होनी चाहिए? इंपॉर्टेंट है नहीं है? देखो कोई आपको रियलिटी नहीं बताएगा. इस गलतफहमी से बाहर आ जाओगे, कोई आपको रियलिटी बताएगा. इसको छोड़ो कोचिंग को. दुनिया में कहीं भी कोई भी आपको रियलिटी नहीं बताएगा. वो पता करना आना चाहिए. आप उनसे बात कर सकते हो कि मेरे को रेफरेंसेस दो कुछ ऐसे लोगों के जिनका नहीं हुआ है. सही क्वेश्चन पूछना तो सीखो. हम जाकर के वहां पे क्या कहेंगे कि हमें रेफरेंस दो ऐसे किसी का जिसका हो गया. क्या मैं उनसे बात कर सकता हूं कि कोचिंग को ज्वाइन करने से पहले? वो पहले तैयार है क्वेश्चन के लिए. वो कहेंगे आगे कॉल देखो. लो करो बात. और वो बंदे बात करेंगे. तैयार बैठे. अरे बहुत बढ़िया जी, बहुत बढ़िया है. आप क्वेश्चन भी निकाल के पूछते हो. हमें पता ही नहीं कि इंफॉर्मेशन निकालते कैसे हैं. उनसे जाकर के बोलो कि मुझे नहीं पता करना कि आपके यहाँ पे कितनों का हुआ है, क्योंकि मुझे नहीं पता कि उनका एक्चुअली आपके यहाँ से हुआ भी है नहीं हुआ है. आई डोंट नो दैट. हो सकता है कहीं और से हुआ है, सेल्फ स्टडी करके हुआ है और नाम आता आ रहा है. तो मुझे बस 10 ऐसे लोगों का नंबर दे दो जिनका नहीं हुआ है. मतलब वहाँ पे जो बच्चे पढ़ रहे हैं, बाहर जाकर एक दिन के लिए जासूसी करो, वहाँ पे बाहर खड़े हो जाओ, यहाँ पे पान की दुकान होगी, चाय की दुकान होगी, वहाँ पे जाकर उन बच्चों से बात करो, बहुत कुछ समझ आ जाएगा। क्या वो तो बहुत कुछ पता कर सकते हो, वो अलग बात है कि हम करते नहीं हैं। ऐसे मतलब प्लीज थैंक यू सो मच फॉर
That's true. That's true. Nice video. Nice video. What's the point of this video? That's the real question. क्या मैंने मिस कर दिया पॉइंट कि तुमने भी करा? What was the point of this video? Let me just send a text. Alright guys, we're done with videos for now. अभी मैं बस थोड़ी देर और बैठ रहा हूँ. आई रियली वांट टू प्ले फीफा राइट नाउ. फीफा से नफरत हो गई है मुझे एक चीज़ इसके चक्कर में. बताता हूँ क्यों. आई फील अरे यार हो सकता है स्ट्रीम कितना कई बार अटकने लग जाती है फीफा चला के, तो आई जस्ट मेक श्योर के वो नहीं होगा तो आई लीव. आई सपोर्ट विवेक बिंद्रा इन हिज बैड टाइम. आई हेट संदीप ओवर एक्टिंग करता है ज़्यादा. I find it difficult to translate and structure my thoughts into words. Can you recommend something? मैंने जस्ट अभी इसकी वीडियो देखी है. ये वीडियो स्ट्रीम स्टार्ट करने से पहले. आई नो आई जस्ट सेड के नो मोर वीडियोस फॉर नाउ. दिस वन वुड रियली हेल्प आई थिंक. दिस गाय इज फकिंग अमेजिंग. Why can't I talk to girls like I do in my head? That's your question, right? I find it difficult to translate my and structure my thoughts. Right, that's your question. ये 20 minutes की वीडियो देखनी है क्या? 20 minutes की वीडियो देखते हैं ना. This guy is a psychiatrist.
And so the first thing to understand is that, like, as long as that process can be improved, then you'll be a better communicator. Okay. So to start with, let's understand this. Okay. So why can't I talk like the way I do in my mind? This is such a great question. Whenever I'm in my head rehearsing speeches or conversations, I talk so eloquently and articulated. But when it's time to speak when it's time to come to speak with my mouth, I end up stumbling, stuttering, or forgetting what I'm saying and about to say. It happens to me a lot to the point where I don't want to speak sometimes, and I wish I can talk like that attractive Chad inside my head. I do have anxiety and fear of judgment, along with ADHD, in case that affects it. Why does this happen, and how can we train to overcome this? Does it have a term? What a great question. So, a lot of times we think thoughts in our head, and the thoughts in our head are so pure, so clean, they make such perfect sense. And then our beautiful mind is.
अच्छा ठीक है. डॉक्टर विवेक बिंद्रा मैंने आपको रेफरेंस दे दिया है. प्लीज़ वॉच दिस होल वीडियो. दिस विल हेल्प यू इन दिस इशू. मैं थोड़ी सी समरी दे देता हूँ क्योंकि मैंने जस्ट अभी देखी थी वीडियो. पूरी देखने का पॉइंट नहीं है. तो बेसिकली रियली ग्रेट पॉइंट इन दिस वीडियो वॉज, मैं अपने माइंड में ना बैक फ्लिप भी इमेजिन कर सकता हूँ. बट अगर मैं खड़ा होकर बैक फ्लिप करूँगा अभी तुम्हारे सामने क्या होगा? गिरूँगा, मरूँगा, ठुकूँगा. राइट. विवेक सर चैट जीपीटी यूज़ करो, वो स्ट्रक्चर कर देगा. बिग फैन सर. सो here's the thing. Talking, communicating is a skill, right? So that was very interesting. So you use it like that. उसको बेसिकली जैसे अगर बैक फ्लिप मैं इमेजिन कर सकता हूँ लेकिन मैं सच में कर नहीं सकता, तो मुझे सच में अगर बैक फ्लिप करनी है तो क्या करना पड़ेगा? मुझे बैक फ्लिप की ट्रेनिंग करनी पड़ेगी. राइट. आई नीड टू प्रैक्टिस ऑल द मूव्स एंड एवरीथिंग. तो यू नीड टू प्रैक्टिस स्पीकिंग. चाहे फिर तुम रिहर्स करके करो, चाहे तुम. एंड वन ऑफ द ग्रेटेस्ट वे टू प्रैक्टिस, ये जो तुम नोट्स देख रहे थे मेरे, ये जो यूटिलिटेरियनिज्म वाले, वो क्यों थे? बिकॉज आई सॉ सर्टन वीडियोज़ जो मुझे इंटरेस्टिंग लगी. आई नोटेड देम डाउन इन माई ओन वर्ड्स. तो आई वॉज प्रैक्टिसिंग दोज आइडियाज़. दिस आई कैन टॉक अबाउट दोज आइडियाज़ इन सम इन अ गुड इनफ वे. मुझे आज बिल्कुल भी उम्मीद नहीं थी मैं ऐसी किसी चीज़ के बारे में बात करने वाला हूँ. मैंने कोई ज़्यादा अच्छे से बोली नहीं है वो चीज़ें, लेकिन दीज आर सम ऑफ द वेज यू कैन प्रैक्टिस योर आइडियाज़. एक हो गया यू कैन रिहर्स योर स्पीच. एक हो गया यू कैन बेसिकली यू कैन डू व्हाट, यू कैन राइट दोज आइडियाज़ डाउन इन योर ओन वर्ड्स, जो भी तुम्हारे स्ट्रक्चर करना है ना थॉट्स को. दी अनदर ग्रेट पॉइंट इन दैट वॉज कि जहाँ मिसकम्युनिकेशन होता है ना, मिसकम्युनिकेशन होता है हमारी असम्पशंस में, जो कि दिस इज़ हॉरेबल अबाउट मी. तो इसलिए मैं कह रहा हूँ ये वीडियो मुझे तो बहुत ही अच्छी लगी. आई हैव कुछ चीज़ बोलने से पहले ना आई हैव लाइक 10 assumptions जो कि पता ही है मुझे कि हाँ ये तो सच है, ये तो सच है, दिस इज़ अ न्यू आइडिया, लेट्स ब्रिंग दिस इन. राइट. इशू इज जिससे मैं बात कर रहा हूँ ना, दे मे नॉट हैव दोज 10 assumptions. सो दैट्स वाई इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू रियलाइज वेयर यू आर स्टार्टिंग. आई डोंट नो, तुम लोगों को याद नहीं होगा शायद, मैं एक गाना सुना रहा था और फिर मेरी बात हुई थी. राणा आजकल नहीं आता, वो उस टाइम पे चैट पे आता था. मेरे सर के ऊपर से जा रही है, आई थिंक आई एम ड्रंक नाउ. हमें तो पहले भी आया ना, तो हमेशा ड्रंक होता है ना जब भी तो आता है. Yeah, Jordan Peterson recommends essay writing to think more clearly and so to structure your own thoughts. Yes, do that. It's great. So try writing, ठीक है, अपने खुद के words में. उसके बाद if you're into Jordan Peterson, it's weird to me that you might not be into philosophy. Maybe you are, maybe I just got it wrong. तो एक तो ये हो गया. दूसरा हो गया assumptions. Be wary of your assumptions के जहाँ से तुम अपना idea start कर रहे हो communicate करना. तो जो भी तुम्हारे पहले के वो है कि हाँ ये सब तो है, जो प्री सपोजिशंस हैं, क्या वो मैच करते हैं उस बंदे से जैसे तुम ये कम्युनिकेशन कर रहे हो. अब हियर्स माय इशू विद फकिंग फीफा. लेजेंडरी डिफिकल्टी पे मैं खेलता हूँ, ठीक है. यूजुअली आई एबल टू स्कोर अ गोल और टू, बट मुझे लगता है कि जैसे ही जीतने लगता हूँ ना, लिटरली कल भाई मैं 4-2 से जीत रहा था. 90 मिनट्स हो गए, 5 मिनट में एआई ने 2 गोल मार दिया अचानक से आके. 2 नहीं सॉरी 3. And I'm like, fuck off. This is a complete bullshit. This is a fucking lie. ये मेरे प्लेयर्स को डमर कर रहे हैं, मेरे एडिशनल AI प्लेयर्स को, और ये सब चीज़ें कर रहे हैं. I truly feel that happens. Or maybe I'm just making excuses. Who knows? और FIFA में कभी भी देखना, जो पहले 3 मिनट है ना, there's a big risk of getting of scoring or getting scored against. Oh fuck, मैंने तो ये करा भी नहीं था again. अब मैं चैट कैसे पढ़ूँ? Shit. I'm into philosophy, but I joined the stream late, so didn't know much about utilitarianism. All right. तो वही मैं कह रहा हूँ, हाँ, it was a wrong read on my part. My bad. नहीं, but ये मैंने जो करा था ना, assumption कि you might not be into philosophy, वो इसलिए था क्योंकि you were saying कि इसका point क्या, we don't get to a conclusion. In a lot of things, जब भी तुम philosophy वगैरह discuss करोगे ना, you won't be able to get into the conclusions. क्योंकि वही जैसे उस बंदे ने ना बोला था बीच में लेक्चर के, I don't know if you were there or not, कि भाई एरिस्टोटल, ठीक है, कांट और ये जितने भी लोग हैं, दे couldn't get to a conclusion to an objective morality. Who are we to think that we will do that in one session or one semester? I think that's very true. But that's the then if you're really into philosophy, then I like your questions, man. तूने कई जगह पर पूछा कि what's the point of any of this, which I think is a fundamental question about philosophy. It's important to ask. All right, guys. What do you think how this match goes? कौन जीतेगा? And what the score will be? That was good. Fuck. कितना डम है ये AI assisted pass. ये चुराएंगे जॉब्स. Fuck. Shoot. I'm waiting for a chat if there's something you want to discuss or even watch. Oh, come on, dude. Come on, what the fuck? You can clearly see though I'm dominating them right now. अभी देखना थोड़ी देर में अगर मैं गोल स्कोर करता हूँ ना, देखना वो टीम अपने आप ही डोमिनेट करने लग जाएगी. Oh, fuck. But I'm clearly dominating them. Shit. ये तो हक दिया मैंने. And that's how you counter. Alright chat, so that's it for the stream. Bro, ग्राम देखो. अरे वो बाला वाली वीडियो, अरे यार अभी रुक जा 2 मिनट दे, फिर फ़ोन पे देख लेता हूँ तब तक. मरवाएगा, हर्ष मरवाएगा, पक्का मरवाएगा. Dude, I also have a missed call, man. What the fuck? Hold on, guys. अच्छा शॉर्ट्स हैं. Oh, shorts I can watch. ये डिवोर्स वाली बड़ी वीडियो है यार. It's a little weird to watch streamers क्योंकि then it feels like you're stealing content, honestly. मतलब बाकियों के पे रिएक्ट करने ना somewhat makes sense to me, but streamers it almost feels like stealing content. Maybe I'm overthinking, I don't know.
है ये कैसे हो गया?
क्या है 4 सब्जेक्ट में बैग आने के बाद?
है
तो ये देखना चाह रहा था स्ट्रीम पे?
ये कैसे हो गया?
Okay,
है
I guess you relate to it. That makes sense. क्योंकि तेरे एग्जाम्स चल रहे हैं. ये पुनीत तो मुझे कभी नहीं पसंद आया भाई. I'll never like this guy.
लेफ्ट कर, नीचे कर, ऊपर कर, राइट कर. ठीक है. लेफ्ट कोने में. ठीक है, समझ गया. तिकोना. समझ गया. नीचे, राइट, लेफ्ट. नहीं नहीं नहीं, सीधा कर. लेफ्ट कर, नीचे कर, ऊपर कर, राइट कर. ठीक है. लेफ्ट कोने में. ठीक है, समझ गया. तिकोना.
हर्ष भाई IBC बनने के पूरे लक्षण हैं तेरे. हाँ भाई हर्ष, पढ़ाई कर ले तू. मार्शल कम आवाज़ से निकाल, सो रही दुनिया. ऑलराइट गाइज, कम ऑन मैन. मेरा मैच चल रहा है, तुम लोग प्रेडिक्ट नहीं कर रहे यार कौन जीतेगा. आई थिंक आई हैव बीन डोमिनेटिंग पोजीशन. आई हैव बीन डोमिनेटिंग. Dribble success rate 100%. Fuck off. Possession 59-41. 3 shots, उनके 0 shots. Expected goal 0.5, उनका 0. So I should win. Okay, अब मेरे पे प्रेशर आ गया है. Oh fuck. ये देखो, ये चीज़ें मुझे बकचोदी लगती है. विवेक, तुम्हें नीलेश भाई के लक्षण दिखते हैं? नहीं दिखते. ये देखो, मुझे ये चीज़ बकचोदी लगती है. ये देखो. How the fuck? It should have been a great pass. It should have been a great fucking pass. Look, ये AI assisted है, तो should it, इसको खुद नहीं होना चाहिए कि मैं थोड़ा इधर दूं बॉल. कहाँ दे रहा है ये? बिना असिस्ट के मैंने खेलने की कभी प्रैक्टिस नहीं करी, so that's the issue. Fuck off, bitch. Do you think I did that? Ball दे रहा है. Can you play FIFA with the keyboard? यार मैं पहले खेलता था FIFA कीबोर्ड से. अभी मेरा दोस्त है, one of my best friends in the world. He plays with keyboard. कभी उसके साथ खेलूंगा मैं. But वो मेरे साथ खेलना पसंद नहीं करता. I don't think he plays that great क्योंकि उसने बहुत टाइम से खेला नहीं है. Now I cannot. पहले I could. मुझे याद है WSD से चलता था, JKL से वो J से लॉब पास होता था, राइट? फक. शक्तिमान. तुम्हें से कोई खेलता फीफा? You wanna play together someday? Let me know. Fuck. या फिर कोई और गेम. आई थिंक स्ट्रीमिंग की ऑडियंस तो वैसे भी ज़्यादातर वो वाली है ना. हाउ डज वो दिखता है ना, हर दिखता है ना अर्पित बाला को. हाउ डज दैट स्ट्रीमिंग वर्क? आई ऑनेस्टली हैव नो आइडिया. आई डोंट इवन हैव एनी आइडिया हाउ दिस स्ट्रीमिंग वर्क्स. खैर मेरी तो चले नहीं, सो आई डोंट नीड टू वरी अबाउट इट. बट हाउ डज दैट स्ट्रीमिंग वर्क, वो अर्पित बाला टाइप की? कैन समवन टेल मी? आई चैलेंज यू टू स्ट्रीम फॉर 24 hours, many games, many reactions, interacting with the chat, and many more other stuff. I'll do it someday this year. I'll do my best to do it someday this year. I play Valorant and Rocket League, CSGO. Rocket League खेल सकते हैं किस दिन. Valorant का तो I'm not a big fan. Perhaps CSGO. CSGO 2 I think है ना. नई वाली मैंने खेली नहीं, वो जो CSGO आई है ना, एक भी बार नहीं खेली मैंने. फीफा पहले खेलता था मैं, देन रियल क्रिकेट 24, बाकी फ्री फायर कभी भी. रियल क्रिकेट 24 पीसी में है, होगी शायद. Fuck off, dude. But are you guys not with me? Do you guys not think I'm dominating them? I'm asking you for the umpteenth time. Shit, हक दिया. Oh. Can we see that in the replay? what do you think of long Twitch streams reacting to movies / streams? Twitch don't have copyright issues. I think that's fucking great, यार. Twitch चलता है क्या इंडिया में? I honestly have no idea. Look at this, guys. Look at this. What तेरी? Fucking hell. Like content creators are more free with content on Twitch. अर्पित को इतने ज़्यादा भी लोग देखते नहीं हैं. नहीं, अर्पित I think is quite popular. But audience connect तो करती है बंदे से, उसकी stories मस्त रहती हैं. Okay. नहीं, मैं specifically अर्पित की बात नहीं कर रहा था. उस टाइप की streaming, I don't know how that works. I understand how game stream works. कि people like to watch games and you know एक वो रहता है कि तुम साथ में खेल रहे हो किसी के, वो वाली वाइब रहती है. I somewhat understand how reaction stream works as well, है ना? But that is very क्या कहते हैं, foreign to me, the idea कि just streaming without you know without a clear vision for the content. ऐसे मैंने उसका देखा नहीं है. Again, I'm not talking about Arbit. I'm just talking about generally that's what it seems like to me कि हाँ आज हम क्या बात करने वाले हैं. I think when you have an audience you can do that, but when you don't have an audience, what do you do then? So that's my real question, I think. Oh fuck. Arpit interact wholly with the chat. But what would he do when he doesn't? What does he do when he doesn't have an audience? Did you like watching OG Raw and Real? Nahi, I don't know what Raw and Real is. That was so much fun to watch. Raw and Real क्या? I have no idea. यार, but मुझे सुना सा लग रहा है. Can you give me a better idea of what Raw and Real is / was? Fuck off. Oh, look at it. No gamers or anything. Just talking anything with Arpit sense. Oh, he has a great sense of humor. Once again, but I'm not talking specifically about Arpit Bala. Fucking यही तो दिक्कत है इस दुनिया की. Fuck this shit. Raw and Real. अच्छा, प्रखर श्वेताब एंड वेदांत का पॉडकास्ट ब्रो. ओके. मैंने कभी भी नहीं देखा. मैं नहीं देखता यार ज़्यादातर चीज़ें. I'm not being a dick. ऐसा होता है ना कि मैंने नहीं देखा तो it sounds like oh बेकार है. नहीं, I don't mean that. I just haven't seen. Fucking hell, what the fuck? But the name sounds kind of a little, you know, whoa, to me. Not very appealing. Fucking hell, यार बहस की आगे जब से कंसीड करा दिमाग खराब हो गया. ये देखो, मेरे प्लेयर्स भी तो महान है. ये मैच खेल के जा रहा हूँ बाय द वे में गाइस. कीपर आ गया ना, उल्लू का पट्टा. भाई कीपर के कतई कदमों में आके गिरेगी तब उठाएगा क्या? भाई आपको 22 जनवरी की वेट नहीं है? नहीं, मुझे कुछ ऐसे खास वेट नहीं है. डूड कीपर आगे क्यों नहीं आया? भैंस की आंख इसकी यार. फक दिस शिट. मैं पूरा तो खेलूंगा ही नहीं अब तो. मुझे लग रहा है ओ तेरी भैंस की आंख. बट इज इट जस्ट मी? क्योंकि मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि अचानक से मैच की डिफिकल्टी बढ़ गई है जो पहले थी उससे. Nice tackle. I heard somewhere ke I don't know Modi or someone said ke 22 जनवरी को दिवाली मनानी है. I found that a little weird. You disappointed me. That's fine, man. So when I was 16, when I used to listen to Shwetab and he broke this Instagram influencer bubble for me that everything you see on Instagram is mostly lies, etc. Oh, all right. That's nice. That's nice. That's good. ये क्या शॉट था ये? भाऊ हर्ष जबरदस्ती है क्या? भाई अच्छा. And it's okay if he's disappointed. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with being disappointed. Harsh is also quite young, so I understand. Fuck off, bitch. That's how you counter. फरीदाबाद में नाइट लाइफ कैसी है? नहीं है भाई, है ही नहीं. फरीदाबाद में नाइट लाइफ है ही नहीं. What's the one app that is in your mobile that is of no use? Delete it right now. देखता हूँ भाई. That's nice. That's interesting. Fucking content. मेरे में by the way, this is something which is of use. पता नहीं अब तुमको दिखेगा या नहीं दिखेगा. Hold on. Oh look, I'm big. तो I have this. ये जो होता है ना minimalist phone. So like that's fuck off. तो मेरे पास क्या है जो कि यूज़ का नहीं है. वीडियो अटक रही है यार, थोड़ी सी फीफा की वजह से अटक रही होगी. I'm so sorry. श्री राम का वेट पूरा देश कर रहा था या फिर है जो कट गया. डिसअपॉइंटमेंट तो रहेगा ना. डू यू वांट टू गेट इनटू दिस डिस्कशन? ओके छोड़. Let me just find app. Action is what the fuck is this? I have an app called Bewakoof. I know minimalist bro. Is it useful? I'm not really that sure. मैं तो बस ऐसे ही डाल रखी है मैंने. But I haven't felt इसको हटाने के लिए. तो मतलब ये ऐसा कुछ अड़चने भी नहीं लाती बाकी चीज़ें यूज़ करने में. और it hasn't been a big issue for me. मुझे ऐसे एक भी बार नहीं लगा यार इसको हटा के मैं नॉर्मल वो कर लूँ. So what do I have? I have Canva in my phone. Cashify. Chat. What the fuck is chat? Clockify. What the fuck is Clockify? ठीक है, I'll uninstall this. Clockify. I don't even know what the fuck this is. There you go, brother. Uninstall. Yeah. Okay. Gone. That's nice. All right. It reduces creative stimulation that apps interface provides. Nice, Nilesh bhai. Thank you. Nice किस लेवल से? सर्च हिस्ट्री दिखाओ. कौन सा पीएम कौन सा पॉन देखते? मेरा पॉन नहीं दिखेगा भाई. जब मैं ये अटक क्यों गया? शिट. Oh, are you fucking kidding me? I was just making a comeback. ये क्यों अटक गया? मेरी पॉन नहीं दिखी भाई. मैं डॉक्टर गो पे देखता हूँ. मिनट में सारे उड़ जाती है, सब कुछ उड़ जाता है. You'll never find any porn. You'll never find what I'm into. What the fuck do I do now? Hey yaar. What the fuck is